Hello and welcome to Plat Chat Overwatch episode 138. I read a lower third on our Twitch stream. I said Plat Chat Overwatch episode 138. So that's what I said instead of Plat Chat. Never mind. Oh my god, what is going on? Hello.
this is the Overwatch one.
Yeah. We're still waking up. Still got coffee next to us. For me, Custa and Jaws, we live in LA, so it's early hours for Avast. He's in the middle of his workday. Warp a business as per usual. For the man with the green background. Yeah, this is supposed to be the summer showdown preview. So I guess we have all watched Contenders. We've all seen the Junkerqueen meta. We've all had a good time watching the new Overwatch 2 GOATs. We'll get to the topic later on, discuss whether that's the actual name for it, whether it applies, whether this is actually GOATs, or if it's just some brand new thing, is 5 versus 5, who knows. But we got some news first. So why don't we jump straight into it and talk about the fact that there will be no third beta for the for Overwatch. Did you guys miss the pre-talk, by the way? Or were we supposed to like banter and talk shit first?
No, you're good. No, I like straight into business.
Vast usually has like a few comments.
I did.
Panel.
I mean, I was doing the pre-talk on the Twitch pre-show, talking about Sony, Microsoft stuff. But I guess we're not allowed to talk Microsoft too much because they're gonna they buy us. So like, there's nothing like maybe there's no you're not allowed to do that. Yeah,
podcast presented by.
But I mean, I don't have any like. Let's see, any news I'd like to go over. I watched Tartakovsky's Primal. If you've ever watched him, he did the old Star Wars and Samurai Jack animated series, and he made a new one with a caveman called Primal. It fucking rules, like everything he does. So watch that. There you go. That's your hashtag ad for the not actually added. I love everything that guy does.
I did Primal
do something on the. I did do something on the weekend that was quite egregious. I only just watched Predator for the first time. I know it's insane.
The first Predator, the one with Arnold.
First Predator, yep. The one with Arnie. Yes. I only just watched that jungle? One.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's
classic.
Potentially one of the best films of all time. The amount of muscle in that film, I don't think could contend with the amount of muscle that's currently on the.
I don't think so. When the solution is to just put mud all over yourself, I don't think that is the best movie.
How fucking smart is that?
Wait. That's where your point of contention is the mud.
Yeah,
your point of contention is the mud.
That's the main thing I remember of it. Like he put mud on himself, and he's like, "Now I'm invisible." And I'm
but
like,
I mean, that makes sense. It's based off thermal imaging. He's hiding his heat.
Make sense.
That doesn't hide your heat. Just because you make yourself colder on the outside, it doesn't hide your internal
how that works, though.
Scott, I don't think you understand how thermal radiation works. I don't think you understand how heat works.
So why doesn't everyone just roll in mud in modern warfare these days?
Because we have clothes. We have clothes, Scott.
That doesn't stop thermal imaging, though.
Dude, that's almost what they fucking do.
I mean...
So you say the only reason that we see people in thermal imaging is because everyone's walking around naked? Like
no. Because their skin's exposed. Their skin's exposed, Scott. So it's like a house. You know how insulation works? The heat is escaping through the areas where there's no insulation. And the mud, Arnold could only wear tank tops, okay? He's Arnold. He doesn't allow to have sleeves. True. And thus he has to use mud to cover up his massive arms because they don't let him have sleeves.
There you go. He is completely
because his clothes burned off in the fight with the Predator. So he needed mud.
I don't believe you. I don't think that's how it works, but I'm not convinced enough, and I don't believe in myself enough. I'm going off of like Call of Duty 4 logic of like I can see everyone all the time and they're wearing clothes. So
no, but like they're not weering mud in COD 4.
But also, they're still in those exact games, they still have parts of their skin exposed too. So like, that's where the heat is escaping.
When you look through the thermal, you just don't see their like exposed arms running around the map. You see their whole body.
But it's Call of Duty, not thermal vision duty.
Should be. Sorry, Johnny. You asked for this.
Amazing. Yeah. You guys have really hyped up Predator now. I can't wait to watch it. Seems to be a very logical. I love that when they implement some logic and science into the actual the movie itself. So mud prevents thermal energy.
It's the perfect film.
Yep, that's good to know. Thank you guys. What an absolute honor that segment was. Love it. No third beta for Overwatch. John Spector tweeted out. We got the release date for Overwatch 2. So I guess we're just waiting for the game to actually be released. But until then, we got about 2 months. 2 months of no actual beta. No way for anyone to play the game. Did you expect this? Is this surprising? Where were you hoping for a third beta? How do we feel about this news coming from John Spector?
I was hoping for a third beta just because of how badly they dropped the spaghetti on the tuning of Junkerqueen and Sojourn. Like, I think they hard missed the mark on both of those heroes, which doesn't give me hope that they're going to do the third hero justice on release. But it also makes sense. Like, if they give us the third beta, then all everyone's going to complain about when the game actually releases is there's no new content. Why would I play and stuff like that? So I think it's just about making sure the release is as hype as it can. But the game's already dead. We're already bored. Like, what's another 53 days in the end, right?
It's longer than that, I think. Was it 53? Maybe.
I don't know. I'm just making up a number.
Yeah. I think I think it was almost kind of expected. Like Scott said, you don't want to release a third beta and then have the Fox girl hero being released then, and then when the game comes out, there's no new heroes to try. I mean, yeah, sure, there's, you know, the battle pass and the whatever the fuck else they're going to add, right? But you want something that's crispy, brand new, fresh, and that's obviously the Fox girl. I'm not too fast. Like Scott said, we've waited long enough anyway. Although I will say on the balancing point, Scott, they're either going to do one of two things, right? They're either going to make her really good, like Junkerqueen is right now, a commanding shout, or like Sojourn insta-killing you regardless of how close you aim the crosshair to the head, or they're going to make her very underpowered, seeing how good Junkerqueen and Sojourn are. I hope it's more OP than like
I got a great original idea for you, Jaws. It's never been done before in Overwatch Esports. I have this great idea. So we want people to tune into the playoffs, yeah? You know, obviously, like the finale of the season, you know, we want as much viewership as possible. We want people to come in hyped. What if we release a new hero right before playoffs? Just throw it in there. Pros have to adapt within like a week. And we'll just see what happens. And the viewers going to be like, oh, they're going to play the new hero. It's going to be great. Competitive integrity. It's going to be spot on. What do you think?
That's crazy.
They did that to me in 2018 and it was fucking awful.
That's a joke.
I know. But like, they've done that before. You joke, but they've done that before. So it's like too close to home. Like, they could do that kind of thing. I don't think they will, just because if they had more heroes, they would tell us about them. But yeah, I don't know. I agree with you, Jack. I hope she's more overtuned than undertuned, but just not to the ridiculous. Like, remember when we all played Sojourn for the first time and we were like, oh my God, am I god at aiming? And then
I was like, I'm the best hit scan player in the game.
And then they reduced the head hitbox and I'm like, man, I suck.
It did feel like I could not hit a shot, like, as soon as they nerfed the Sojourn rail. I was like, wow, I am bad. Like, I'm just terrible at this game. Let me just play Widowmaker again, because at least I can have a scope and I can look at them. And, you know, it did feel kind of funny. But, yeah, hopefully she's good. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that, of course, we want the hero to be good. And if they do implement the hero for the playoffs, I think we all, of course, want to see the new hero. Because you don't want to get blue-balled either. It's just like, hey, we've got a brand new hero, and it's not playable because it's literal garbage. It has been interesting, though, because I feel like this has been a conversation over the years. And I can't remember exactly where I got this from, but I have like a hunch that somewhere I read that someone said something or whatever, that they were actually trying to pay more attention to the actual like developer cycles, the patches being implemented, to be implemented at a reasonable time where it made sense for the Overwatch League as well.
No,
so
you aren't high as fuck. No, they did say that. They I think it was in a dev blog, not in a dev blog, one of the dev videos or like the rundowns or whatever, where they were like, oh, you know, we are paying attention to the Overwatch League and like how we implement patches and obviously the new heroes that are going to be coming out of Overwatch 2. They definitely said that. I remember that quite clearly because I was like, oh my God, you know, thank fuck for that. Because all like with Overwatch's hero releases, obviously, Scott, you can firsthand attest to this with a hero being released just before playoffs. But like, it reminds me of 2014 Worlds in League, where they did this massive update to the top lane, and the entire Worlds meta was just fucked because they released top lane, these new changes, and Renekton was just like super OP, and everything just revolved around top lane when it was actually like mid lane and like 80 carry or whatever the fuck it was back then. And it was just a giant fucking mess, and everybody was like, this fucking sucks. And I'm, you know, that's why I'm like super thankful the Overwatch devs right now are paying attention more to the Overwatch League space and coordinating their efforts to patching and balancing new heroes and shit like that.
Yeah, because in my opinion, like the biggest issue when you do that kind of stuff is it completely shuffles up the teams that are good. Like, so from my experience was the 2018 one when they reworked Hangzhou. And that's when London Spitfire went from being like a middle of the pack team going into the playoffs to we have profit on Hangzhou. And then they just killed everyone and like won the entire tournament, right? So it's like, you got to be really careful when you do that because it just completely turns the teams on their heads. Obviously, it's cool to see teams adapt and see the new things. And I wouldn't be completely surprised if they did it, but I just hope they give the teams as much run up and heads up as they can if they're going to do it, and it doesn't like just like break the game.
Avast, are you concerned about Fox Zero?
I mean, I'm gonna be honest, like, no, because like this year is kind of just a wash to me. Like, it's like, I mean, we're talking. I mean, it's essentially just like that we don't. I mean, also, I think there's some hyperbolic like statements being made. Like Dante was talking about, I think, and to be fair, it's understandable as a pro player. It's like, wow, so no more betas, so pro players can't practice for the next 2 months. Like, if your career has ended over 2 months of not playing, really less than 2 months, and in addition to that, the game, like, and it's really, there's still going to be a meta to play, right? I mean, at this point, if you weren't playing, you're not playing. Like, honestly, like, in the last 2 months of the season, like, I don't think that changes anything for players that are permabench, especially in the current dynamic of Overwatch 2, where everyone's kind of realized that it's tough to make subs. It's been kind of, like, it's just the reality of the game currently. But I think from a professional standpoint, things like those statements are, you know, it's a little hyperbolic because, like, guess what? Gator's not earning his spot back at this point in the league. It's just not going to happen, right? Like, if you're a permabench player, especially like a tank player, who's most likely to be like a permabenched generally in this situation, if you have excess tank players, you're probably not earning your spot back. Because it's just, everyone's realized that you have to optimize your team. And I don't think 2 months of no beta will change that. And then, but then on the other side, like, you know, I don't want to go like too like crazy and be like, well, we shouldn't be worried about it all. Like, obviously, who knows if the meta, like Scott says, gets flipped up entirely in the final stage because they introduce a new hero and then like suddenly Washington Justice are really good, I will gouge my eyes out.
Yeah,
I will gouge my eyes out like Oedipus on stream if that happens, like 100%. But I think at the end of the day, like, it's just kind of like it's just an irrelevant issue for us to be worried about because I'm more concerned overall about like, hopefully Fox Hero releases, you know, hopefully it's out. So there's like content. That's like my bigger overall worry. I'm not as worried about the meta because once again, it's for one stage, right? Now, obviously competitive integrity and all that, but guess what? Where has been the real competitive integrity in terms of like, we don't have a game that pros can practice, right? Like, it's kind of like a very much a minute, like, speck of dust in the larger, holy fuck, my house is dirty situation. You know, and to me, it's just, we'll see type of situation. I just want the Fox Hero to be out. If it's out for a stage, like, great, fantastic. If it turns the whole meta on its head, that's unfortunate. But at this point, I mean, it is what it is. That's my personal opinion. So, like, obviously, I should be more worried about it. But, like, really, are we getting hysterics at this point? Like, it's just like, I can't muster the energy to be that upset over it at this point because of where we're currently at in the league and the development cycle. You know, I just can't do it.
Also, who gives a fuck if it turns the Mara's head right for like one stage? I mean, yeah, sure, like okay, yeah. Washington Justice, if they do end up being rank 1 because the hero's busted for some reason, doubtful. But
oh my god, what an arc that would have been.
Yeah, it would be insane.
I would have loved that.
But like, I think we've had it worse, right? And I think that's what's quite funny about Overwatch metas and just the game in general. We've had it worse. You know, worst day of your life so far kind of thing, Simpsons quote. We had goats for however long, you know?
Yeah. Like, the thing is, the light's at the end of the tunnel, right? The light's at the end of the tunnel. Like,
how long have we said this, okay? How long have we said this?
But the thing is, we literally have a hard date now. That's why I can't be upset about it, is that there's a hard date. Like, to me, everything before then, it's irrelevant anyways. It's all being washed anew because there's only 2 directions, right? Overwatch 2 releases, it does pretty well. We're happy. Yay. Now we can start complaining about competitive integrity. Overwatch 2 releases, it flops, game's dead. Okay, doesn't matter, right? Like, there's like, so to me, like, it's just, there's only like, I just, at this close, when I see it, when I'm this close here, I can't do it. I can't care. I can't do it. I know it sounds bad, but it's just, I've seen that, you know, there's going to be the great, what is it? When everyone goes up to heaven, the rapture, you know, we're going to have a rapture situation, right? Where either the game is saved or it's fucking hell on earth. Like, it's just one or two. So it's like, you know, that's it.
No, I agree. I agree with the boss. It's been a Mickey Mouse season. We're playing on a beta of a game that people can't play, people can't practice, all that kind of stuff.
For 2 months.
Yeah.
What are they gonna do? What are you asking your viewers to do? Just like,
well, yeah, no, it's fucked up. But
I mean, like, I don't know about you guys, but I've been having the same issue. Just like individually trying to make content for this game and like stream the game. It's like I don't want to go play Overwatch 1 ranked. So it's like we're just sort of in this limbo moment waiting for Overwatch 2. So.
Dude, I subjected myself to playing Pokemon Unite against 12-year-olds with iPads, and it is painful, bro. Holy moly! I got to Ultra, and then I'm done. I just can't play the game anymore. I can't be beaten by an 8-year-old iPad baby. It's just not happening again.
They're so
powerful. I
need
the games to come out.
They're
extremely powerful. Their credit card is very large. Who's really good at that game? In that game right now?
Yeah.
Fucking Absol and Gengar, because they one-shot you at level 3.
Wait,
dude,
they were overpowered when I played when it gave.
Yeah, could be again.
You want to hear an interesting Overwatch
Okay.
factoid, by the way, about Pokemon Unite that relates to Overwatch? You know Faz of the Rise Nation?
Classic.
Rise Nation.
Okay,
he plays. He's trying to go pro in Pokemon.
No
Unite.
shot, really.
Let's go.
Oh, yo, Plat Chat Pokemon Unite. Let's go.
So yeah, I mean, to me, 2 months. Like once again, it's unfortunate, it's shitty, but it's 2 months left, right? It's 2 months left. I mean, so to me, is it fatigue? Yes, it's fatigue. But what am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to rage against the dying light? Am I supposed to scream and howl up at the moon? Like, I mean, it's 2 months. We're going to see what happens. I'm just hoping Fox Girl gets released. I'm just hoping it comes out. And, we're going from there.
What do you think's going to happen to Fox Girl? You think she's a myth?
I don't know. I don't know what's gonna. It's not about. I just don't know. Like that's the thing.
Well, it comes out.
Can't take anything for granted.
It's gonna come out with the game, though. Didn't they say that was going to come out with the release? So like,
it's 100% coming out.
Yeah. Exactly.
Like I
so,
said, but it's just 2 months. 2 months. Like at
2 months.
this point,
That's all we
I'm
have to
locked
endure.
in. I'm locked in. We got Jotes coming up, and I'm just. That's it. That's what I'm focused on and moving forward and hoping everything moves. So yeah. Unfortunate. I mean, I don't, we've already discussed the third beta, and that's just, it is what it is. I can't, I've been broken. I think I'm broken.
Okay.
I've lost it.
Yeah, luckily just 2 months left. I feel like I had the same kind of feeling about this waiting for the release as I got like flashbacks emotionally. Like I don't know if you guys feel this, like sometimes when you listen to a song and you like think back, like, oh, I get the same feeling when I listened to this song like 10 years ago. I get the same feeling when it's like the last hour of like high school and I'm just waiting to like be able to walk out of class so I can get on the bus and fucking get home. I got the same feeling now. I'm just waiting for 2 months, just like can't wait for this to end so I can just like begin my life anew or something. Yeah. Finally, 2 months left. 2 months left, and then we're golden. So no beta. Sorry, pros. I guess you guys are benched for 2 more months, but it's all good. We hope Fox Girl is balanced and perfect on release. We wanted to try it out. Hangzhou Spark released LiGe. I'm so upset about this. He was supposed to be the chosen one.
Like
we hyped him up so much. Yeah, 18 months ago. We hyped him up so much. We didn't even know what his status was going into this season. He did play a map, and we were like, finally, has LiGe arrived? Is this it? What we've been waiting for this entire time? And then Hangzhou Spark, they dropped him like a month later.
Didn't he play 2 games and lost both of them?
He played against Valiant on Circuit Real. Very memorable. And I think that was the only map.
As Johnny said, this guy, we hyped this guy up like it's just so long ago, and we're like, this guy getting promoted at contenders, he might be able to turn the Spark around with a more consistent tank performance, and he just never played. I think they cited like personal mental health issues earlier on in last season.
There was a statement about it. I don't recall it. That was like over a year ago, I think.
Yeah, over a year ago, because people were like, why is he not playing? He was supposed to be this great player for you guys. And then he just never played. And still, so it's like, I should be upset about this dropping, but it's kind of like Avast of like, I just don't care because like he hasn't played. So it's like he has had no impact on the team. So it doesn't change anything.
Yeah, it's tough. It is tough though, because from his time in Billy Gaming and also with, I think it was with Team CC. Yeah. Like, coming out of China, he did look like the best Chinese off tank coming from contenders. Like, that's the thing. That's the disappointing thing here for me is that, and like, you can't control life. Like, if he had mental health issues that made it impossible for him to really focus and play the game and like spend a lot of time in it, that's completely fair. That's like, you got to focus on yourself first. It's just unfortunate because he was looking like the best Chinese off tank potentially. I thought he was, at least when he came out of Chinese contenders. And I thought he was going to be like a real, kind of like a hopeful future of like, because so far from what we've seen in the Overwatch League sphere is like, there hasn't really been like, there's been a lot of like very good Chinese off tanks or ones that are like very good at a particular role. There hasn't really been a lot of like, I think like super well-rounded ones. Like for example, like I think one of the closest examples of like a pretty well-rounded off tank, but still what I would never necessarily say was like at the top of the pack was like Elsa, for Chengdu. And I feel like LiGe was going to be like that first big showing of like, here's the Chinese, like, cause we've seen main tanks from China, but we haven't seen like that really like pop off star, like Chinese off tank potential. Yeah. And I thought LiGe was going to be that, and it just never really materialized. So to me, that's unfortunate because I think it's just like, it just didn't show quite some of the full potential that was possible out of the Chinese scene at times. And like, there hasn't really been, I think, a
They caught his internet.
They've caught him.
Oh well.
Florida man strikes again. Oh, he's gone.
Yes, I agree with Avast until he gets back. I did find the post. Apparently, there was a post on Weibo like last year sometime, where basically he said like that he was feeling depressed and he had some issues at home, so couldn't focus that much on the game, and it was nothing with the team or anything to do with that. Now, we did see him one map, so hopefully, we don't wish that on anybody. Hopefully, that's kind of sorted out and allowed him to get back into the groove of things and, maybe play a map for the Hangzhou Spark. I think another reason why this makes sense for the Hangzhou Spark, we obviously will not know the situation at home and how he's feeling, but it's the fact that Bernard has been pretty good for the Hangzhou Spark. I think going into this season, going into last season even, we would say that Bernard was probably like the secondary kind of off tank on this team, and we didn't really rate him as highly as the potential of LiGe. But I would say that over the course of this season, Bernard has proven us wrong in many ways. I think he had some shining moments in the mid-season Madness tournament, and maybe the Hangzhou Spark, knowing things are not going too great with LiGe, and maybe he's still having some kind of, real life stuff going on. Maybe they just made the decision to, cut LiGe, and maybe he can go down some different route. Maybe he can join a different team. He can weigh his options, etc. So hopefully it works out for both parties here. I think Hangzhou Spark, they're pretty happy with Bernard's performance, but obviously I wish the best for LiGe, and hopefully we get to see him fulfill his potential in the Overwatch League, maybe for another team, if he can get back into the groove of things. Because there are certainly going to be some roster slots coming up. So if he can, carve out a niche for himself on one of these teams, then maybe he would be a prospect. Like you said, like one of the best Chinese off tanks there were. So I know Hangzhou Spark, Bernard is Korean, but LiGe still, if you can find a Chinese slot somewhere, I think a lot of teams will be interested in that.
Hello?
Hello, you're
Welcome
back.
back, Florida.
Dude, my PC just randomly restarted. I don't know what happened. That was weird. But
That happens.
That was it. You heard my point got across. And
yes, your point got across. It was beautiful. And we wish the best for LiGe. So yeah, I think that's about it for LiGe, unless you got something more to say. We got a few new roster items as well. There's been a few roster movements during this little 2-week break here after the midseason madness. Next one up is King has joined the Vancouver Titans after Vancouver Titans dropped Shockwave. A news item that we didn't discuss on Plat because we had a break, obviously. But I think the community at large were very surprised the day that Shockwave got dropped from the Vancouver Titans. And instead, they replaced him, signing King, a flex player from North American contenders. So an interesting prospect. A lot of people are hyping up, saying that this is going to be great going into Jotes, Junkerqueen Goats, if you will. So excited for that. Shockwave. Do we want to start with Shockwave first? What do we think about Vancouver Titans dropping Shockwave? Could we perhaps understand this reasoning from Vancouver Titans? Why they dropped him in the first place?
Kind of insane, considering he's one of their best players. Like a little bit weird. I'm not sure whether it was like a personal thing or it was a Titans thing. There's got to be more to this than just like, oh yeah, he's just kind of leaving. If I missed a fucking post on Reddit or like Twitter or whatever, then yeah, fuck me. But it seems very strange. I don't know how you guys feel about it, but like Shockwave being one of their best players and being a very good prospect and has been for a couple of years on the on the hit scan, yeah, odd, very odd.
I think the fact that Shockwave didn't play and Mira played in the last match that they most recently played didn't make any sense. It felt like Mira sort of got thrown into the fire there and he did not perform very well. So it didn't feel like he really was practiced. So I agree with Jack. When something doesn't make any sense, there's probably more information behind the curtain that we just don't have. Like, who knows? Maybe it was a personal Shockwave thing, as Jack said. Maybe DP, his new head coach, they didn't agree on things. It's hard to really tell. I'm excited for King to get an opportunity. There's been a lot of North American contenders players who've been given the opportunity to finally like play at the league level and to mix success. So, hopefully the Titans can step up and, King gets the opportunity, because like Shockwave, we've seen him for the last, he's been given a lot of opportunities to really perform. So it's cool to see other players get that shot.
Yeah, it's unfortunate situations though with Shockwave, because like what happened with Fusion. Though, right?
Yeah.
Like he has been given opportunities. It's just a lot of the opportunities have also happened to be turbo shit, just because of the situation at hand. So I think that's unfortunate for Shockwave. I do think he's like, there's clearly talent there, but I think like Custa and had hinted on is like it's there. It seems like it had to be something beyond talent that led to the departure, right? Like maybe just a different vision with how they wanted the team, how they wanted to utilize them. So especially considering that Shockwave made sure to like say like, hey, this was not mutual, like upon release. So like it was very clearly differing visions with the roster. And I mean, if we examine it also from like a hero pool perspective, right? Shockwave mostly hit scan with some flex picks in there. You have Aspire. Are you going to play Shockwave over Aspire currently on a hit scan meta? That's tough. That's a tough call to make, right? Like, because Aspire has been really fucking good at hit scan, while Shockwave has had like gaps in the resume essentially because of like missing time on playtime. And then when you look under your flex DPS picks, it's like, well, we've gotten Mirror, and then before that, Titans had, there's technically they still have like Psycho available, right? Like but who knows exactly, like I don't think they've been used like too often necessarily, right? Or Psycho get dropped. I think it's
Psycho got dropped. But
Psycho got dropped, yeah.
Here's my question for you, Avast. Like, the thing that I'm not happy about is like, I want to see Aspire play Tracer. I think that's his best hero. I think that's the thing he carries on. But now he's the only hit scan player on this team. So I feel like he's not going to be able to play that hero that I think really brings that firepower. Are you worried that Aspire's hit scan, like that's going to be a missing piece?
Well, I think at the end of the day, when we look at this roster currently, because like, what is the Titans' current roster? It's like Mirror, False, Aspire, Masa, Skyripper, Aztec, right? Yeah.
And now
King. And now King. So they don't have a dedicated. The biggest problem with them is that they don't have options to. They don't have like a lot of like easy flex options in this team, with Shockwave being gone. Well, Shockwave technically could play hit scan, but also could flex. And like you're right, they don't have like a insanely dedicated besides Aspire. Like the Aspire's the best tracer, but also been playing their best hit scan. So I don't know. It's a tough call, but also it's just a situation where like it's clear that this is a roster in flux because they come into the league. They were still running with their old coaching staff. They fired the coaching staff mid-season. They pick up DP. DP's like, okay, I'm going to try to bring in some players that I know, try to rebuild. Like the expectations are going to be tough for this team because also there's just not a lot of pieces that are going to be picked up that can immediately slot into the roster that are going to be performing at like an insanely high level currently, So it's a really tough roster situation. And I think King is probably one of their better options potentially in North America.
Yeah.
To like kind of bridge those gaps. But it's still going to be like you said, like Aspire's the best tracer player and probably will remain the best tracer player. And there's not a lot of ways you can fill that gap currently.
It might not matter in this current meta though, right?
It might not. No, I don't think it will matter necessarily at all in this upcoming meta. So
yeah, I mean, we might see King play that like Genji Echo role, but also they have Mirror. Yeah. I think it's noteworthy. You said this is a team in flux. It is noteworthy that this was DP's like first signing to this roster. Like DP, he had nothing to do with Mirror getting signed to this team. And obviously there are so many different nationalities on this team, so many different personalities, so many different hero pools. So DP comes in as new head coach for this team, and he's like, what do I have to work with? Like, how the fuck do I fix this team? And at the time when Shockwave got dropped, a lot of people were, tweeting just like, Shockwave's obviously not the problem with this team. But it's like, sure, he might not mechanically, individually skilled, be like the worst player on this team. But there are so many things you have to manage when you are the head coach of a team. Like, how do we implement Shockwave with his kind of weird, wacky hero pool? How do we implement him and like feed his ego and make sure that he's a happy player for this team? And no, because that's what you have to do. if you're a coach, you have to manage egos. You have to make sure that all the players are like working towards one goal and are happy with their play time and happy with their role within the team. You have to make sure that they're like motivated and hungry as well. I know at the start of the season, this team was like mentally in the fucking dumps, dude. They were just like diving around like fucking raccoons, just like, oh, another day losing. I guess we suck. XD, stuff like that. Like, what the fuck's going on with this team? Like, the mental was just like boomed, and the season hadn't even started yet. So coming in as a head coach, you have to make sure that everyone's aligned with the same goal. They're motivated. They're happy with their fair share of play time. They understand their role within the team. And sometimes, like, it doesn't matter if the player you're cutting is like 5% better at X hero over the other. Like, you want to make sure that it's a functioning team and that it makes sense. And so Deepay probably came into this situation and he's like, what are the tools I have to work with? What do I need to really round out like everything when it comes to this team, like team morale, communication, individual skill, hero pools, like all that stuff, and make sure that it makes sense. So it is confusing that you like get rid of Shockwave and you sign King after you already have Mirror on the roster. I mean, I guess Deepay has like some spreadsheet at home where he just like lists out all the heroes and what you need to make it work in all these different metas. But I kind of want to trust Deepay. As you said, this is a franchise that is in flux. Their roster like doesn't really make sense at all. But you gotta make some changes. You gotta break some eggs to make an omelet or some shit like that. Maybe Shockwave was the
correct.
egg.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, maybe Shockwave was the egg. So it is disappointing. I hope one team picks up Shockwave though, like Shockwave on Paris Eternal or something like that. That'd be sick. I'd love to see that. Hell, even on a Spitfire. I don't know. They don't have any budget accordingly. Rumors, but Shockwave would be a good pickup for them. So that'd be exciting. So I think we'll see King in this upcoming meta. That would make sense.
100%. I mean, King Zero Pool fits a lot. And also, like I said, I think Aspire's Tracer is a lot better than King, but King has played Tracer.
He can play
it. They bring some flexible picks. It's more so the issue is like, if Aspire is by far your best Tracer, then it's tough to like make that pick for Aspire when also he is your best hits can. So like it's hard. Yeah, I think it's a hard situation that Titans are in. But King's hero pool makes sort of sense. It's just the rest of the roster is still like like a lot of fucking weird shit going on.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Moving forward, we've got another team that are making some changes. Hotly contested, very dramatic team here, franchise. There's a lot of what was the word I'm looking for here? Controversial, maybe? Controversial, yeah. The fans of the New York Excelsior haven't really been happy with the state of their team so far this year. Understandably so. They got fed all this hype for like 6 months in the offseason, where it was the Yaki and the Flora damage duo for this team. And everyone, including me, I'm pretty sure all talent, everyone in the community were just like, oh my God, what a damage lineup. This is going to be absolutely amazing. Yaki, Flora, it's going to be absolutely glorious. And then like 1 or 2 weeks before the season, everyone was like, New York, they kind of suck. We hate New York. We don't want to rank them at all. They're really bad. And since then, it's just been downhill. They signed more flex supports. They have triple flex support, no main support. One of the weirdest rosters in the entire league. And they dropped Kuki, their head coach, for the New York Excelsior. So this is another team that is just like in a state of flux. Maybe they'll pick up KDG or something. Don't really know what the path forward is for the New York Excelsior. But the New York Excelsior, can they save their season, or is it just like a wash? Is it just like a wash at this point? Is it too late?
Considering they need a main support for this next meta?
2.
Sussy.
And a head coach.
2, yeah.
They haven't replaced the role.
Dude, I don't know. I'm 100% agree with you, Johnny. I was like mad hype on New Excelsior coming into the season. I was like, oh God, I can't wait to pog for NYXL this entire season, but they've just done fuck all. It's really sad. And this meta is just no way. I think Kellen has been like okay on the tank, but like, are they going to be able to play this kind of like super fast rush style with like Junkerqueen and shit like that and managing cooldowns and like with Flora and Yaki? Yeah, Yaki's still really good, and Flora's pretty decent too, but like this team has had no success. I think they're going to either be suffering from like mental boom at this point in the season, and they're not obviously having a head coach to kind of manage all of that too. I just don't see this team succeeding regardless of who they pick up next, unless they pick up some sort of, I was going to say a wizard coach, not necessarily Mr. Wizard Chong, but unless they pick up a miracle coach, yeah, I just don't see this team doing well going forward, especially this time around, this meta. And like, what does that mean for their playoff chances? fuck all, basically. I just don't see them making it any further than they do right now.
Yeah, we're going into a double main support meta. They have 3 flex supports. Gangnam Jin Lucio hasn't cut the mustard. Haven't signed a head coach. I think they have this season's a wash. Like, which is the unfortunate reality is like teams have random wash seasons where they don't perform that well in your expectations. Like Florida Mayhem last year. You could probably have worried about this team when they signed a lot of players from a team that just recently failed. But, you know, we were all pretty excited about it and we're all hyped about this roster, but it just feels bad because is this the 2nd or 3rd season where they've just been terrible?
Last year, it's the second. It's the second.
Right?
Like the year before, 2019, they were pretty good still. 2020, they were fine. They were fine.
They were fine in 2020,
yeah. In 2021, they were rough.
Yeah, and it just feels like this. I think the New York Excelsior fans are just like, they have this crazy expectation that they're going to go back to 2018 one of these seasons, but they just haven't been able to do it. And yeah,
it's like that, just like decaying hopium for this franchise. That's like, oh, we had our legacy, we were amazing, and then slowly every season it just dips, and you're like, fuck.
I don't know about you guys, but every season we do power rankings and we do this stuff. You have New York Excelsior fans coming at you every season of like, no man, you don't understand. This is going to be our season. It's going to be sick. And then like this is it just keeps crashing and burning.
And I hate it because the New York fans, they're really cool. Like they're actually one of the coolest fan bases.
The branding for New York Excelsior is fucking sick. Like the videos and the hype videos and shit they put out, all the little stingers that we do on broadcast just before they play. I'm like, man, this team is cool. Coolest kid in the class, but he's getting Fs all around. You know, but he's still
cool,
pretty sick.
So it's fine.
You want to be his friend, but like he's still kind of failing, and maybe he won't go to university. Like we'll see. You know, it does feel pretty bad.
Yeah, I mean, New York is obviously like a massive city, and you know they have an amazing fan base. I just wish they had something to root for, you know, like knowing how passionate these fans are and how much they care. Like even in 2018, 2019, they had like, they called their fan group something, like their fan base. They had like a name for it or something. I can't remember exactly. I went to visit like one of their internet cafes where they had like watch parties and stuff like that in New York. And it's just like the coolest fucking place. And it's so New York, like you're just walking around all these like old buildings on like some random street. And then it's typical New York. I can't really describe it, but there's nothing on the outside. The street is like so quiet. There's nothing going on. There's no fun people in the street or anything. It's just cold, quiet, whatever. And then like you walk through a door and you get into this place and it's just like popping. It's just like warmth. It's like people like going ham. It's loud music, loud noises, people having fun. It's just like you walk into these, you walk through these like gateways in New York and you just enter like amazing rooms and stuff. So they had an internet cafe there. Their fans were awesome. It was just like the greatest time. And I just wish they had something to root for. I don't care what it's like, an American star player. Weren't there like rumors that like Space was going to New York or something at one point? Some shit like that.
There were rumors. No, the rumors were at one point they were going to retool the roster to be Western.
That's when they signed a bunch of New York players. Do you remember when they were like, we're going to sign like actually New York players, and then it just didn't work? That was like the beginning of 2019.
XL2, right?
Yeah, XL2. They got rid of everyone and just made XL2 a New York team.
Yeah, but yeah. So this team is just turbo fucked.
Yeah,
so this team's just turbo fucked. Like it's just like they're going to the worst possible meta that like literally if you had the devil themselves thinking about like the worst thing to give to this team, it's like the double main support meta. Like it's like literally if Satan picked the meta to give New York, like this is it. This is the meta. Like they're just fucked. They're fucked, and it's impossible to get like on-time replacements because they're a Korean team and they have to deal with visas. It's just it's disastrous.
So let's get into some hopium. Like, in what alternate universe does New York Excelsior actually like do good this season? Is it just the main support issue? Is it literally just the main supports and you're golden?
Like, if Ho1 comes out and plays a mean Brigida, and if Gangnam Jin somehow, like, you know the guy that hit his head and he suddenly became like one of the most brilliant mathematicians? That we need Gangnam Jin to hit his head and become one of the best Lucio players. That's what we need. Like,
a guy that hit his head and was already good at
artist. There was like a dude that like hit his head and like he like got really good at math or something. It was like some sort of factoid I read a while ago.
Got good at math.
Yeah. Find the article.
How one man's brain injury turned him into a math savant.
Yeah, there you go. That's the one. So that essentially, if Gangnam Jin does that, and then they learn, and then they become Funny Astro, and then Ho1 pulls out like the best fucking Brigida, like, or not the best, but like a very good Brigida, then there is hope. if one of their like 80 flex support players has a good Brigitte and Ghanem Jin learns how to play Lucio, there's hope there's hope at least. I wouldn't say it's good still, because the thing is, the rest of the roster still hasn't been performing that well other than Yaki. So they still haven't really had like, there's still other parts. This is just simply to like, this is like from like building the car, we need the wheels. Then it's like, okay, now we have to figure out the suspension, the fucking windshield, we have to figure out everything else going on in there, the electronics, like, but we just need the wheels first. And like, maybe there's hope at that point.
Oh,
yeah. Okay. I tried, New York fans. I really did. That being said, though, I am looking for. Wow, this is kind of sad to say, but I was like, I'm looking forward to the New York off season. I don't look forward to the rest of your season, but the off season, I really look forward to the off season.
No, the off season, the off season could be popping potentially, because I know with Well, actually, before I say this, have they announced how long the CDL off season is? Does anyone know?
I don't think. I don't follow CDL, but I wouldn't.
Don't know.
Okay, well then never mind then. All right, let's move on.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah.
Sure.
I will say though, you know, you hinted earlier that like, what if it turns out that Washington Justice is like amazing at Fox meta, and they're just going. I
won't be listening to that. I don't want to hear that.
But I was going to suggest that for New York, but then I realized that they're so shit. There's no way they're going to qualify for play-ins, so it doesn't fucking matter. They're just dead. So New York, we wish you the best in the summer showdown. What's your strength of schedule here? Are you going to play any difficult teams this year? Is it like pack it in, or do you actually stand a chance of beating some of these teams? Houston Outlaws, Dallas Fuel, Vancouver, San Francisco Shock, Paris Eternal, Florida. So we're playing Paris, Vancouver.
Well, they're playing Paris,
Florida.
Vancouver, so maybe.
I mean, that's not awful, but the Scrimbucks, which I'm sure we'll talk about at some point, right?
So we'll bring this up later. We got some Preds, we got some power rankings to go through. It's gonna be good. But there you go. I guess we could also address that Seeker turned 18 for the Boston Uprising. So I think Seeker is going to be an interesting addition to Boston. Some of the Uprising fans are hyping up Seeker, saying that he could be a better Tracer player than like Valentine and stuff like that. So, absolutely. But yeah, I don't think we need to spend like a segment talking about Seeker for Boston Uprising. We'll see how he performs in the league. Let's just get into the Summer Showdown then. The entire stage. The Overwatch League, they tweeted out like an infographic. They got so many changes going on. We got map pools. We got a new hero. So I'm looking forward to this. It's going to be a great stage. I really enjoyed this like 2-week break, by the way, between the Mid-Season Madness and here. Prior seasons, it's just been like a constant like months of just like season and games and having to witness like Vancouver and Paris play, and it just like drains you. But now with this 2-week break, I'm like ready to get back into it. It's going to be a good stage. Map pool was changed, obviously. Do we want to hit on the map pool first and a few of the changes we have there? We have Hollywood coming in.
Yeah, I think just the changes, the map pool, probably. Just like what's adding, what is entering the map pool?
Yeah.
Exiting.
So King's Row is out for hybrid. Paraiso and Hollywood is in for hybrid.
Paraiso.
I don't know how to say it.
Paraiso.
All of the control maps are now in. So we've added Nepal and Busan into the list. Let's have Junkertown coming in, Route 66 out, and then we only have 2 push maps, so that's the world we live in.
I don't know how I feel about Junkertown coming in and Route 66 being out. I think I hate both those maps.
I like it. It's such a different map, so it sort of keeps everything a little bit fresher. So
they needed Junkertown for Junkerqueen.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that is true, actually. I didn't think of that. Sucks that King's Row out, but like at least Hollywood's in. I love Hollywood's a really good map.
Yeah. Hollywood, I really love Hollywood. However, this is a sad time to add it. But you know, I do love that they added Hollywood.
What do you mean it's a sad time to add it?
We'll talk about that, won't we? Will we talk about that? Or is this the segment to talk about the meta?
I think that was the...
I don't know what you're talking about, but maybe we can bring it up later. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think Hollywood is like a top 3 map for me. I freaking love Hollywood. It's the absolute greatest. So Nepal is also back in the pool. So we got Nepal. That's going to be a fun control.
I do love
edition.
Nepal. I'm glad Nepal's in. Nepal's one of my all-time favorites. Nepal's
a lot of good memories from Nepal. A lot of good games on Nepal. And then of course we're going to have the tournament in Toronto. It's going to be a LAN, an arena in Canada.
Very
looking forward to that. Knowing the Toronto fans as well, I think they'll be like showing up hype.
Well, that's assuming that their team makes it.
Yeah.
There's
I think Toronto fans will genuinely cheer for any other team because they're so used to their team sucking.
Maybe, yeah. I just think it's going to be very unfortunate that one of the two teams that are still like investing into running events, there's a very strong possibility their team will not be at the event based off their strength of schedule.
Their schedule's not
really
awful.
It's not awful, but it's not good.
Yeah.
Especially heading into a new meta where like a lot of their strengths might be not very strong.
Oh wow, you guys weren't fucking kidding. Jesus Christ, what a schedule.
Yeah.
I was about to say like Toronto. I think they'll be pretty good in this meta.
No.
And then yeah.
Also, I still don't think they have like a lot of. They're still like we'll just have to see how they perform. Like, but overall, it's not like it's looking terrible for them. It's just rough. It's
all
rough.
right. Here we go. I'll read it off for the audio listeners as well. So the Toronto Defiant, this stage, Vancouver Titans, Atlanta Reign, Dallas Fuel, Los Angeles Gladiators, Boston Uprising, and London Spitfire. So there's like 3, maybe 4 winnable matches there if like peak Toronto. Like peak, having a great stage. Like maybe you upset like the Dallas Fuel because they've been struggling and you beat Vancouver, Boston, London. They could go to 4-2 if they're really lucky / good in this meta.
Yeah. I think it comes down to I think they're very middle of the pack. Like the thing that I think is cool about their schedule is it's in their hands. I think if they qualify, it's because they deserve to be there and they beat a couple of the teams that, like as you said, are on the fence. So I'm excited to see Toronto play. But yeah, as you said, that would suck if your team doesn't qualify for your LAN.
No, I genuinely I think I love the Toronto fans. I think they'll genuinely show up for the other teams and root on the other teams. Like I think a lot of Toronto fans, they have like secondary teams because they're so used to Toronto not winning. You know, like they went through all those seasons where their team was garbage. Remember, like they had some questionable tank players, all of that stuff. Like they probably have secondary teams. I think if you ask around the league, I think Toronto has the most fans with like secondary teams. So I think they'll show up for like Dallas Fuel, LA Gladiators.
Yeah, I just want the team itself, the organization, to have their team there. Because if you're still a team org running events, putting on the cost of running events because it's mostly all on you, like I hope your team makes it because you deserve it. You deserve your team to be at the event. Like if you're bearing the brunt of running these events at this stage in the Overwatch League, like, you know, like like you should. I mean, like honestly, I wouldn't be mad if people just baked into the schedule. It's like, if I'm gonna run the event and pay all the costs, my team gets to go. Fuck the fucking schedule, you know. But like, I just hope they pay
for a slot in a tournament. Pay to win.
I mean, yeah. But I'm hoping that they
get a league point. Oh, thank you. I bought a league point.
Yeah, you know, I mean, I think, but I think it's in their hands. Like Scott said, it's in their hands for sure.
All right, awesome. Do we want to talk about the meta a little bit then? Obviously, we touched on it last week where we got Lemon Kiwi on because she had been studying the meta, talking about it. But we also had some more news coming out since then. So the patch we will be playing on is the one where the commanding shout health, it actually like decays over time. I think the span is like 5 seconds, 20 health per second. It will decay over. The bad news is the rumor says that it won't change anything, and it's pretty much Junkerqueen is essentially like a must pick. I believe Yiska talked about it as well. I've talked to other players, coaches around the league as well, and they've been saying to me it's going to be Junkerqueen. It's like the primary tank. There's going to be Ashe. There's going to be Sojourn. That's the mix of hit scan, and then you change between Genji and Echo, whether you want like some more verticality or stuff like that. And it's going to be Lucio Break. That's pretty much the meta. There's not going to be anything else other than that. I have heard though that if your team's main support suck ass, or you don't have 2 main supports, they have been trying out to play some more flex support players, like double flex support lineups, stuff like that, with limited success. But it is something that is happening around the league, so we'll see how that works out for them. So, are we expecting a 100% pick rate for Junkerqueen, or do you guys think that like this will be figured out throughout the stage? Do you give like Overwatch League teams the benefit of the doubt? Do you think they're too smart at this point? They'll figure out some way to beat it?
I don't think it'll be 100% pick rate because Circle Real is still in, right?
I think it'll get played on Circle Real. I think it's less likely to be played on like
Gibraltar.
Yeah,
Gibraltar. Yeah. I mean, literally in the most recent tournaments that I've been watching and such,
still dive and shit on Gibraltar.
It's
but like
on Gibraltar.
Yeah, on a Paricio, however
we gotta figure that out. We're professionals. We get paid to do this.
Rio. Yeah, on Rio, I think. Well, from what I've seen, Teams sometimes pretty willing on first, at least defense, to play Sigma because the high ground like encapsulates almost the entire point, and you can put your Sigma and your Sojourn or like hit scan on one side of the map, and then put your supports on the other side near the staircase. And then teams that attack have two options: they go into the bridge or they just wrap around to the staircase. But it's like a lot of fucking spam. Like it's like such a spammable point. That's the only thing that I've kind of seen for that map, and like maybe we see Sigma elsewhere, but like maybe we'll just see Sigma on that point, and the rest of the map will be Junkerqueen, which is more than likely. So I don't think it's going to be 100%, but it's going to be close to.
Yeah. I think it comes down to if there is ever a situation in which you can just stand on a high ground and spam down, people will attempt it. But I think Junkerqueen it's going to be like GOATs, where like there is very few niche points in which you can counter it with something else. I don't expect to see too much Pharah. Some people have been saying, Pharah's worked in contenders. I believe that the bug with Rocket Barrage ult charge has been fixed for this patch. So they won't have 19 million barrages all the time, which could solve the problem. But yeah, here's the thing. I just hope it is teams realize it'll be like GOATs, where when teams start to realize that they're not going to beat this team, right? We're not going to beat the San Francisco Shock at this composition. They start trying to adapt, like you can play double flex support. Maybe if you play an Ana, you can negate some of the healing and isolate a target. Maybe you can spam down with Pharah. Maybe you can play a spam comp. I hope we get some versatility, because if we just see Junkerqueen versus Junkerqueen on Lucio Brig versus Lucio Brig, I assume you guys watch a bunch of contenders matches. That shit is boring as fuck. Like it really is, because it's just two teams running at each other and nothing really dies. And it becomes these little niche things that become very hard to pick up as a spectator. So we'll see. I hope we're wrong.
Pharah and Echo will probably get used on like rollouts. Like let's say for Control, your first fight, like teams will probably bust out a Pharah or an Echo for maybe like a cheese to like, they're not going to expect this at all. Like, especially if they're playing, like, some teams have even tried to bust out to limited success. Like, they've busted out instead of, like, because the general lineup is, like, Junkerqueen, Genji, Sojourn / Ash, like you said, and the Lucio Brig. You'll see sometimes the Genji gets, or even the Hitscan gets substituted for, like, a Mei. You'll see sometimes the Genji gets substituted for Pharah or an Echo. So, like, depending on the point in the map, like, for certain cheese strats, you'll see that come out. Gibraltar, there's still dive, and then like I've also heard from the grapevine, like you said, Johnny, like double flex support, but also Sigma on certain points with the double flex. So there is potential here. It's just probably majority. Like I have a hard time believing it'll ever go lower than a threshold of like 70% Junkerqueen like sustained comps. Because everyone's getting all up in arms because we're calling it Jotes, and like obviously I understand it's not the same as Goats. But I just like calling it Jotes because it's like a lot of same principles, but it's not the same. It's more of a sustain than it is Goats, because you have the DPS and like you have to find isolation picks more so versus like trading your cooldowns as effectively. That's still really big and important because of how the DPS works. But like either way, it's gonna be kind of boring. I think it's gonna be kind of boring unless like someone really cracks the meta. There's gonna be a couple places where we'll have some relief, but it's hard to watch. As someone that's very experienced watching Overwatch at this point, and like seeing all the different parts, like it's more fast-paced than Goats at times, and there's more going on in terms of like not only do you have all the cooldowns, but also because there's still DPS being played, and you have like a Lucio Brigida that's actually more diveable than it was in Goats because of you had more peel. They're like, oh, we're also having to watch out for like any small misposition, like errors or like any sort of areas where you could be like diveable or rushable. Like it's going, and then like there's going to be a lot of moments where like blades get popped and the whole point of the blade is to like force an ult and like not actually to do anything. Like it's gonna be rough. I'm just telling you, it's gonna be rough potentially.
I think it's hard to see the impact or like the moments when someone's gonna die. Like from when I watched it, someone just randomly dies, and like it's hard to follow the thread of how that happened. Like someone just gets a headshot or someone just mispositions like a little bit. So I think it's going to be very hard to cast. So good luck, Jack.
Yeah,
good luck, casters.
Yeah. You say that, and I'm like, how the fuck do I analyze this? Like, oh, this team shouted first, they lost. Sorry.
Yeah. And they also technically, by the way, they also nerfed Rampage in this patch too, not just the shout. I think they changed like I want to say they changed the ante or the
6
bleed.
to 5. No, it went from 6 to 5. They just made it smaller because it was enormous.
Okay.
Also,
it's still very good.
Also, something that is worth noting that we haven't talked about, they also, as far as I'm aware, they reverted the Moira Narcotic Orb.
Yeah, there's no next
patch.
yeah.
So it's going back to its original form of just like original Moira that Jack loves.
I
They
forgot
also
about that.
changed
That ability doesn't
the
exist in my
mercy.
brain.
Doesn't this also have the mercy changes?
It's the
for, like,
mercy
super
change,
jump?
yeah.
I think it
Yeah.
keeps the new super jump. Yeah.
Yeah,
But,
so
like,
it's
that
gonna be
matters.
it's like a bunch of small change. It's not like Moira was gonna really be played anyways. But like I say that until someone's gonna play Moira and it's gonna mold me out of control. But you know,
no one's gonna play Moira. Like, why the fuck would you play Moira when you can just play Lucio Brig? It's just like, the enemy team, they have a bio tank. Let's play Moira into that instead of Brig with rally and armor packs.
If you call versus a Junkerqueen and she ults you, it's just over. Like, you just lose the game. Like,
This meta, I think, is really going to show how big some of the gaps are between the top or even the middle and the bottom tier teams, because it's going to be all about like finding those random picks or like capitalizing on someone mispositioning like ever so slightly. I think some of these games are going to have, we've had rolls in the past where like, holy fuck, I think we're just going to get hyper rolls. Like, it's not even going to be watchable. Like, whoa, the San Francisco shot against the Paris return. I wonder how this is going to go. And it's over in like 3 minutes and you're like, oh, all right, okay, well, anyway, time to move on with the day. You know, the token farmers aren't getting that many tokens, you know, in this meta, I don't think, which will be fun in some respects. I guess you'll see like really, maybe you'll see a sick blade because the enemy team used commanding shout, they used both support ultimates in the last fight and shit like that. I doubt it, but you know, it could be cool. But this meta, I think the good teams are just going to fucking dominate some of the lower tier teams. The gap, I don't think is going to look anywhere near as big as it has done before.
Yeah.
You're going to have the GOATs connoisseurs who are going to be like, well, you guys just don't understand it. You know, I really understand the teamwork aspect and the cooldown. Okay, it is interesting, but from an average viewership perspective, it isn't. And it's very hard to, but it's very hard to appreciate. And that's why, like, we talk about, like, I played during the GOATs era. That shit, it was really fun to learn and like pull out that extra percentage, but it is not a good viewing experience. And I'm worried that's going to happen with this GOATs. So hopefully we don't. Yeah, hopefully that doesn't happen.
I think there's more. I think there's going to be more potential to activate the 8 brains of viewers potentially because there's still 2 DPS picks on the field. There's still going to be Genji and there's still going to be Asher Sojourn. So there's still potential to at least get some like, oh, like someone got kills as DPS, like Pog moments. Because the reality is that defines like what's a good meta for most people is like, do DPS get kills? And like there are still going to be moments like that. But there's also going to be like 20, 30 seconds before that of just like hitting each other, like until eventually like you do enough damage to kill somebody and like someone gets too isolated and gets caught. Like it'll generally do that.
I did watch a game where both teams had both support ultimates, so beat and rally, and they both had commanding shout. Both Junkerqueens used commanding shout at the same time. The Genjis popped blade. They used beat. Both teams used beat. And then the commanding shout's almost back up. It comes back up. They use it. And then they use rally. And then the fight is still going. And then they fucking use the commanding shout, like comes up in a couple of seconds. Someone randomly died, thank fuck. But like, I was like, holy fight. Like, I've not played by playing all of that, you know. I'm like, okay, well, anyway, the second support ultimates come out. Anyway, someone else want to take over?
I'm gonna have a bite of my bagel. You guys enjoy
exactly.
this.
Like, take a quick
between
sip.
this and like not being like of viewers not being able to play the game for like 2 months. All I can think about is that like meme of Jesus, just like, why are you giving me my toughest battles? And it's just like,
yes,
that's all I can think about.
Actually, pain
between this meta and 2 months of, yeah. Anyway, well,
it could be different. I don't want to get too doomer, and I don't want this fucking.
Yeah, you can't be too doomer. We haven't seen it yet.
Exactly. Just wait and find the fuck out. But maybe it's for support ultimates getting.
Yeah, and also it won't be played everywhere.
Yeah,
it won't be played everywhere currently.
There
will be Gibraltar. There will be some double. There will be some Sigma with double flex support at portions. There may be some teams trying to do some weirder shit with their DPS. Like there is hope for differences. It won't be as oppressive as GOATs, I think. The difference is it will feel more flage because you will have DPS on the field. It's like an idle game. just like chopping away at people for like large portions.
Let me say this. I'll be the first one to say I love Sojourn. Great, railgun snipes, overclock sliding in back and forth. It's not funny to just watch a Sojourn build primary fire on a Junkerqueen that's getting pocketed.
But the thing is, Sojourn, I actually don't think Sojourn's that good. I think so. It's kind of a stylistic choice for teams here from what I've been seeing and talking to people. It's a stylistic choice between Sojourn and Ashe. I think Ashe is a far better hero for this upcoming meta than Sojourn. Ashe should get more consistent damage. You have really Dynamite and Bob, which are both really strong, like currently in this meta. But particularly because think about Sojourn, the way that she normally charged over shields was like she was shooting like a lot of tanks or really shooting a lot of barriers in particular. There's no barriers really in this upcoming meta. There's literally zero barriers. In addition, but the thing that she does bring that Ashe doesn't bring is that she's a little bit more mobile to escape from rushes with her slide. And slow field is really, really strong with setting up engages because you can slow field and then run it then with the commanding shout and the speed boost, which by the way, you shouldn't be able to stack speed boost from commanding shout and speed and Lucio speed boost. That's busted as fuck. You shouldn't be allowed to do that. But yeah, so it's a stylistic choice between teams. And I think Ashe is the better pick coming into this meta, but there's still going to be a lot of options for people to utilize Sojourn with the slow field and like just getting insta kills and like things like that are going to be pretty interesting to watch.
Okay, so sorry, Custa, I do want to advance. Maybe,
yeah, I can move it on. Sorry.
Yeah, you could maybe touch on here because we're not like moving far away. But I do want to ask the question as well, like what teams we think will be good in this meta. So we discussed earlier how in some playoffs, like the meta shifted and it just completely changes up what teams are good, what teams are bad. When it comes to this meta, do we expect the same teams to be good? Like, do we expect continued dominance from like San Francisco Shock and the LA Gladiators, of course? Like these teams with like great coaching staffs. Do we expect like rush teams to benefit from playing sort of like a similar style like the non-Spitfire, or is it all up for grabs? Is it just completely different? What teams do we think will succeed in this kind of a meta? Do we think it'll change up the league much?
Well, what I was actually just about to say, which I think is really interesting that I'm excited about this meta, is it seems like Tracer is not going to be meta. And, obviously we've seen a lot of Tracers since the beginning of time. So if it is really true and it's more of a Genji echo, that is a big boon for a lot of teams because there are some teams that have been struggling so far this season just because Tracer is not their strength, right? Like the Houston Outlaws with Pelican. He said he doesn't like Tracer as much as Genji or Echo. So I think this really could help out the Houston Outlaws. But for me, I haven't watched enough of this meta, especially with the nerfs. It feels like the most important characters are going to be like your Brig and your Junkerqueen, which is really interesting because they are the ones who need to stay alive. They're the ones who need to keep getting effective value. But we have no gauge for how good Junkerqueens are going to be or who is going to be the good Junkerqueen. So I actually think it is a little bit of a toss-up because we know which teams have good hit scans and like DPS players, but I think it really comes into the backline of the Junkerqueens of who's going to be good. And that's the exciting thing for me of who is going to be the ones to step up. Like you assume the usual suspects like Reiner, Kaluge for the Gladiators and the Shock. And then you got, Smurf for the Soul Dynasty. Is he going to be able to step up? Fury for the Philadelphia Fusion. Like there are interesting ones that we'll be able to see if people are going to be able to hit that level. Because like what is the peak of Junkerqueen and is she going to be super impactful?
Absolutely. There you go. I think I'll definitely change it up in that regard too. So I'm going to make a bit of a change here, Kurt, just like a very minor thing. I think we'll jump into the power rankings now. And then the next segment, I'll just ask that as a follow-up, after the power rankings. So hopefully we can go through that. So we got the power rankings then. And, unlike like the post mid-season madness power rankings, where it's like we assess like past performances, obviously, I want us to take that into account a little bit moving into the next stage, but knowing that the next meta is going to be very different, I want to make like a preview kind of rankings. Like what teams do we expect to be really good in this meta? What teams do we expect to maybe suffer as a consequence of not being able to play Tracer, like Custa said? So we'll utilize these great tools that Kurt always built for us, because Kurt is the absolute go-to producer.
What region are we doing? Are we doing it all or what?
Yeah, do you want to do North America first? I think we should separate them. I don't see a reason why we should do combined regions.
Sure, we can separate them. Why not?
Avast says yes. Yeah, that sounds good to me. Let's separate it. So let's go into the North American rankings then. I think top three, probably like, not that top three. Dallas Fuel at number one. Oh boy, it's been a while. Whoa, what a flashback. Oh, there's Washington Justice as well. What about them? So yeah, let's just jump straight into this. The top 3, I think we can determine that pretty easily. The LA Gladiators, San Francisco Shock, Atlanta Reign.
I think Glads will be a clear number 1.
Yeah.
I think Glads are, based off everything, like, their backline is skewed funny Astro. For the upcoming meta, they have Reiner. They still have
Holy shit.
like Glads. I'm done doubting the Gladiators anyways. Like, I definitely always thought they were like a top 3 team in North America. Like, there were points where they fluctuate between 1 and like 3 at points, depending on what it was looking like. But I'm not doubting them this meta. Glads are gonna roll these. It's gonna roll the fuck out of North America, probably the league. Glads is gonna just be the best team. They're just gonna be the best team. Like, it's not gonna be close. I think they could not have asked for the fact that they got Astro on this team in the offseason and also got Reiner and built, like, it's just disgusting. It's just not fair. So,
and let me be the first one to say, if they end up winning this stage, which is, very far in advance, and I'm taking a lot of stuff for granted here, people are going to say that, oh, they got lucky because it was a double main support meta. They have skewed Funny Astro. They just got lucky. If they end up winning this stage, they'll have won 4 consecutive stages dating back to last year in very different metas, mind you. Okay, all from like double shield stuff last year versus like the Shock and Hangzhou Hunter stuff like that. Kickoff Clash beating like Soria compositions, and last stage, of course, going into this one where it's like completely different with a new hero, stuff like that. So that argument, I'm just banning it before the stage even begins. You're not allowed to say that the Glads got lucky with the meta.
Also, it's not lucky because they literally they built a complete roster. You can't be lucky if you have all the players you need to compete in the meta. That's the definition of not luck. You've spent the money.
Yep. All right. Custa, how do you feel about Atlanta Reign at number 3? Is that controversial?
I think you can't not put them at number 3 at this point. Even if they are going to drop some spaghetti in regular season games, I think it's going to be good. They've shown a willingness to commit to Hawk. Hawk's a freak of nature. I think he's a really good tank in this league with his flexibility. And he puts in the work every time he plays a new hero. So I expect him to be a good Junkerqueen. They have the good pieces, speedily of age, finally in potentially an Echo Genji meta. I think they got everything going for them.
Okay, so that we have the top 3 right here. Who do we have at number 4? And follow-up question: do we need a tier break between number 3 and number 4, depending on who it is?
Do you guys want to have a tier break between 1 and 2? Do you genuinely think Gladiators are just that far ahead?
I think Gladiators are going to. I think Gladiators are so much better.
I would still also have a tier break below 3 and 4.
I'm down. Why not?
Well.
Yeah, 3 and 4 should be a tier break as well. I don't want to, dude. I just don't want to fucking huff that copium. But like, geez, maybe Outlaws. Just whack them in number 4, bro. Just put them up.
No. Wait, I'm going to propose.
Okay,
I'm going to propose a dark horse candidate here.
If you say who I think you're about to say, I will revoke.
He's going to say
everything.
Justice.
No, if he said,
don't trust him.
No, I'm going to propose a dark horse candidate just to gauge our thoughts on it and to see, because I'm not going to say I'm leaning towards it, but I could be convinced into this line of thinking because it's weird my way into my brain. What are your thoughts? Somehow I'm believing that Fuel are going to show up and own Rush.
Oh,
nope.
I just don't see it, man.
Because here's what I'm gonna bring to you. So they got Chio. Oh, not Chio, not Chio. Sorry. They got they have the fucking Fielder and
Chio.
You're on
Chio. Yeah. I don't know why I was misremembering. I was thinking, because of Gurio. It was like sounded like Chio and Gurio.
Oh.
Yeah, so they have Chio and Fielder. Chio amazing. Fielder. Brigida's not necessarily their strong suit, right? But I feel confident they're gonna be able to play Brigida. They're going to have Sparkle Genji or Doha Genji, depending. And potential Mei Echo Farah, right? So, like, all the picks are good for either Doha or Sparkle. They're on a rush comp with Fearless or potentially Hanbin, but probably Fearless here to play, like, the Junkerqueen, which fits their style really, really well. And then it's kind of like, okay, like, what are they? They need an Ashe Sojourn player, and Gurio hasn't, like, been amazing so far, but you could fit Edison, right? But, like, so, but it's mostly the style, the heroes and the style. Does Fuel make any sort of arguments currently to be like, do we make a predictive thing to be said? I don't think we can do that based on how they just haven't looked good enough to make that, but there have been people potentially wanting to say that. I don't think I'd put it though, but what are our thoughts?
I think we are giving Dallas way too much of a pass.
That's fair.
Because of how good they were last year. I have the same thing of like, I'm like, theoretically, it should be fine, but they've just been so bad. Like, the only reason would they have any redemption this season is because of that Hanbin Zaya meta, like stuff that they played, which was just like kind of like a curveball. But I don't think I want to put them fourth. I want to put them in that tier, but not fourth.
Okay, fair enough. So in that case, are we feeling? I think there's only 2 teams I can put in the fourth slot, and there's one team I feel more confident. It's got to be Outlaws.
Yeah,
I think it's Outlaws.
I think Outlaws for sure.
I think it's got to be Outlaws, but I'm worried because Lasher will be a main support, pretty fine. Lasher's main sport's been good. Yep. You know, Iris hasn't played a lot of Brigida. Like, I trust you, but so like, in addition to that, as we've heard the triple trade rumor that was occurring at one point, they still don't have a tank player. So they still don't have like a set in stone tank player necessarily. Now, would this be a good meta for Piggy?
I was gonna, dude. Will Dante play Junkerqueen?
I could see that.
I could absolutely see him playing it.
100% see Dante.
But why would we play? But the thing is, when Piggy was in and learning Winston, there was moments where it was like getting better. And the thing is, like, what does Dante made sense because Doom was relatively meta and it fit with their playstyle with how they learned around Doom. How does Dante make sense to play Junkerqueen over Piggy? Explain. I don't understand the logic jump for that myself, especially if you're gonna have 4 Korean players still in the server.
Wait, are you gonna just say the Houston Outlaws? I don't understand the logic jump. There is no relevant logic jump that the Houston Outlaws make every time. They always do something off par. They always do something different. This is the most like Houston Outlaws thing ever to put Dante on Junkerqueen.
I think but I think it makes sense with Piggy with what the situation, how he was evolving towards the end.
Really?
Because I think a much better Piggy hero than any of the other stuff.
I think Junkerqueen likens itself more to like a hero like Doomfist versus like a Diva or a Zarya.
She very much feels like more a DPS than a like a pure tank. You know what I mean? And that's why. I think Dante
it's not as hard as you don't like when you watch.
You don't hard just like do the mobility and shit like that. But I don't know. I think Dante is just a wizard.
Maybe it might.
I just. They've at least fucking tried it. That is for 100% certain. Yeah. There's just no shot they haven't. I've just got a good feeling they're just going to play him. And if they do play him on Junkerqueen, he's pretty decent at him. I am super confident them going fourth, like 100%.
Okay. So here's my hot take. And I can't really believe that I'm saying this, okay? But this is my hot take. Since this is a bit like predicted, okay? It's not like based as much on past performances. It's a bit predictive because it's not the team you think it is. I promise.
Every time someone says something, I'm like, say Washington, I fucking dare you.
Yeah.
It's not Washington Justice, okay? I do think it's going to be an interesting dynamic between like this kind of meta and like how Lona Spitfire functions in it. But because it's a new meta, there's going to be new abilities and you need to use them logically, okay? It's not going to come down as much to like mechanical skill, individual skill, pop-off moments, stuff like that, like smaller rotations into finding picks. It's going to be how you use your abilities in a very smart way. One team that was smart, in my opinion, during the midseason madness was the Florida Mayhem. I actually think they're a smart team. I actually think they have smart players on the team. I think they're committed. I think Gunbai is going to coach the shit out of this meta. I think he'll be a good Junkerqueen player. I could see him like grinding the game like crazy to understand like the dynamics of Junkerqueen and how to play that hero optimally. He's an absolute alpha Chad. You have Checkmate playing Genji. You have Xe or Hydron playing Ashe or Sojourn. Perfect. The question is like the main support role. Animo still doesn't like, gives me some anxiety. It feels like I've had Red Hook, Chili,
he played pretty badly in the playoffs.
It's a bit questionable. But I think they're a smart team. And I think you need to be a smart team to be good in this meta. So I kind of want to believe in the Florida Mayhem this day.
I also think this is a far better meta for Animo too, because in the previous metas, I think your main support had to be a bit more of a playmaker. I don't think Animo has to be a playmaker in this upcoming meta at all. I think Lucio, your job is like, not only are you taxing, but like it's all cooldown management. It's like, okay, I'm speed boosting here. I'm booping this to stop aggression. I'm making sure to hit a good beat. You're not really worried about getting a lot of kills. You can still make plays, obviously, but overall, like it's going to be a lot of just Lucio being a really good team enabler. I think that fits Animo a lot better than being a hero. So I could see that, I could see this argument being for Mayhem. And in fact, I'll lock it in and agree with you. Number 5 Mayhem.
Number 5, I wasn't even going to say I could see them being better than Outlaws.
No, I'm gonna say it because I mean I don't. The only other team I could be putting up with this list right now are gonna be like London and like.
I would put Dallas there too. I think Dallas under
Dallas. I don't have enough
Outlaws.
confidence. Don't have enough confidence.
Okay.
In them.
7th. Okay, we can put Dallas like 7th or something, right?
Yeah, I think.
Or maybe even
I think
8th.
6. I think.
Yeah.
I until Toronto proves that
Give
they're
me a
gonna not be
6.
the definition of mid. Like I don't know. I agree with your Florida take. Like I think what'll happen is they'll have a good start to the stage and then they'll teeter off and then they'll probably like go out in the first or second round in the playoffs. Like they always seem to start well. I have a lot of respect for Gumba. I think he's a smart person. Someone in the front line, he's a very smart player. If it is all about the main tank leading you to victory, I think it'll be a good look.
I don't think
Right.
Defiant should be. I don't think Fuel and Defiant should be above London.
No, I think we got to get London in the mix here.
I disagree.
Oh,
Really? What's your disagreement? Why I could maybe see for Defiant potentially, but what about why Fuel?
Because I think a lot of people are right now being like, well, it's just Rush, right? Like London's really good at Rush. I think it is a very different setup to Rush. Rush is the Reinhardt that they play is all about isolating unique targets and then running them down. That is not how this is going to play. It's going to be about good coordination. Hardy, maybe Poco. On the Junkerqueen, it's more mechanically intensive, more like a DPS, as Jack said. So that is not the strengths. Shax can't play the Tracer. Backbone will have to play a Genji or an Echo, 2 heroes he has not shown proficiency on. So the only way I see London Spitfire really stepping up and playing to this high level is if they play something that isn't the Junkerqueen comp, or they surprise me with their picks.
They are the team with the biggest surprise potential. Like they will, dude. If there's any team in the league right now that will pull out non-Junkerqueen, it's fucking London. And whether that will be good or not, I don't fucking know.
I have a lot more confidence in London than that. I mean, they're gonna keep Sparker on like an Astro Sojourn. Sparker's been great. I think also there's a potential to play like May still in this comp. I've seen teams pull it out for Backbone. Backbone's May has been really fucking good. Hottie obviously is Hottie. I think Hottie is a very smart player. And they still have Admiral for main support. I am worried about their Brigida, but I'm assuming they'll put like Landon on it, I imagine.
hell, I wouldn't even be surprised to see Backbone like play.
Yeah,
play that.
right.
Yeah.
But
But
that wouldn't make
I think
sense because you'd have
overall-
Shax, Genji or something. But
The overall hero pools work all right for them. And also, the one thing I'm going to give to London is that they have been insanely well coached with like how well they've understood the comp they played.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, I feel like that should carry over here a little bit to when we look at Junkerqueen. Obviously, it's stylistically very different, but I don't think their hero pools are atrocious. And I don't think that from a coaching and like composition, like understanding comp perspective, it should be that bad for them. I could see them faltering though. I could see them having a poor stage, but I have a hard time believing they're going to do that bad.
On that poor stage, you said, I am going to take the time to read out their strength of schedule this stage. London Spitfire, this stage, that's dog.
Okay.
Florida Mayhem,
All right.
Boston Uprising, Houston Outlaws, Atlanta Reign, Washington Justice, and Toronto Defiant.
That's such a middling set of teams.
That's such a good stage for them again.
Yeah.
That is very
crazy.
mid-stage. They could end it just going even here. Like they can definitely just be out some of those lower tier teams and then just lose to people like Outlaws and shit like Atlanta Reign and shit like that. They could actually just go middle of the pack.
Yeah, they could go to 4-2, and I wouldn't even be surprised because of their strength of schedule. If they're just like remotely good in this meta, and you lose to the number 3 and the number 4 team, and like you beat the rest.
You put them above Toronto like 100%. I can agree with like if we're in agreement, Dallas
Toronto's going to be good. No, I think Toronto is the.
Okay, so give me the argument. Give me the argument. Why is Toronto going to be good?
I think that they have Chorong Lucio, and I think they have Twilight on the Brig. I think that is a very good backline in this meta. Muse has shown a proficiency to play pretty much a lot of the tanks. His Doomfist was very impressive, and I think he's a smart player. On top of that, you have Hisu who can play the hit scans. We know that he can play the hit scans at a good level. Then you only have to have Finale or Although fit whichever one
Genji,
you're like DPS you're playing. Like I think they're going to be a good team, like good for Toronto Defiant standards of like I think they should be above that. Where I personally want to do the power rankings is I want to have Toronto Defiant 7, London Spitfire 8, and have the tier break below London Spitfire. That's how I want to do it.
I'm sorry. I don't buy that. I feel like you're taking out a lot of things there. You know, I think we're all like giving some teams for like the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
But you're like, oh, Twilight Brig, Muse Junkerqueen.
Do you not believe in Twilight? I believe in Twilight way more than fucking Landon. Like, I nothing against Landon, but like, it's Twilight.
Okay, but what about the coaching staff for Toronto Defiant? They got
a lot better. They got a lot better after they removed their coaching staff. I mean, in some ways, it's better to have no boss than a boss that's bringing you down, right? Like, so. I mean, I agree with
fucking going. Just like,
they'll be better because they don't have a coach. That's just actually a fact. It's better to be unmanaged versus having a manager that's like literally making you worse. You know?
So Avast thinks that unhinged Toronto Defiant is going to be better than Christopher Lona Spitfire.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm simply saying stating the principle about the coaching staff. I do think Defiant are gonna be good. I mean, I'm gonna say something. It's gonna go crazy. You guys aren't gonna like this. You guys aren't gonna like this. I think it should go. I think it should go like Defiant Spitfire Fuel.
Ooh, I don't know about that.
Dallas Fuel
I'm a Fuel
under
sim,
Toronto Defiant.
I think Fuel. Once again, better meta for them, but they still have glaring gaps in their team coming into this. They don't have a proven Brigida player necessarily. But granted, it's Fielder, and I trust Fielder. Fielder's really good. Their hit scan options have been pretty lacking. We still don't know exactly, like, and then also neither Fearless or Hanbin are like Hanbin maybe could feel Fearless. He has had a very good run in the past, right? But like it's different. But also to me, towards the end of last tournament for Mid-Season Madness, they looked abysmal. Like they didn't look good. They looked poor. Like I'm not talking about like meta wise they look poor. I'm saying like this team looked not coordinated. So I don't have a lot of faith in the field. And I've been on a prediction. Obviously, it's not for Overwatch here, but in terms of like, I'm just feeling a hot streak of predictions and like making predictions because I've just been 100% in Valorant coming up to this pretty much. So like, I'm feeling just good, and so I'm just like, I'm running with the mojo the universe is giving me. I think Fuel should be below Defiant Spitfire.
I will say this: it was a mistake for the Dallas Fuel to drop Jexay. I miss Jexay. All right, that's all I'm gonna say.
I don't think Chio's the problem.
But Chio's not the problem. Yeah,
Chio's not the problem. I'm just saying, I fucking love Jexay. Jexay is the absolute best. Okay, he's the fucking goat. I love him.
It would have been nice to have Jexay though, so they could play Brigida for sure.
Yeah, and they were like, no, we're gonna rock with 2 supports. That's it. We're gonna have 4 DPS players and 2 supports players. So Fielder Chio will be the only one we have. I'm just saying, sign Jexay again. Okay, he's a lovely figure. Everyone loves Jexay. No one dislikes Jexay. Okay, he's just awesome. If he was on the roster, that'd be great. Geo Fielder, I'm sorry, I don't trust those guys anymore. Okay, I'm sorry. So I'm happy to put Dallas at 9. I don't even care anymore. I've given up on this team.
I'm happy to put them in the 8 spot. I also agree that I think we're giving them way too much of a pass. Like if we had watched them play and just removed the Dallas Fuel name from them and put a different team, there is no way we would be putting them as
Toronto
high as
Defiant.
Yeah, like if you had switched to Toronto Defiant and Dallas Fuel names, we would have completely different assumptions of both of these teams.
Yeah. Yep. I kind of agree with that. It will be interesting though. No, I'm not even gonna make this argument. There is some dude with a Dallas Fuel Reddit flare that's going to be like, oh, this meta, it plays right into the strengths of
there always is.
Right into the strengths of the Dallas Fuel meta that they were so successful with last year. Lucio and Moira and clumping up and together playing fast. No, it's not gonna be like that. Sorry. So what are we doing here? Houston Outlaws 4, Florida Mayhem 5, Toronto Defiant 6, London Spitfire 7, Dallas Fuel 8. Still don't like that Defiant is over London Spitfire, but
yeah, I prefer London over Defiant personally. But
are you guys gonna outvote me? Like all 3 of you believe in the London Spitfire of Toronto?
Yes, I personally believe.
I can't outvote. I'm not outvoting. I'm not. I'm standing strong with my Australian brother. No, I'm saying I'm standing strong with my Australian brother in this.
Okay, well then may I suggest Kurt? Kurt as a deciding factor. Toronto or London as number 6.
I'd much rather visit Toronto than London, so.
Oh, okay.
Got him.
Damn.
Also, if Toronto go higher, maybe they can make their own fucking homestand. All good.
Yeah, true.
There you go.
That'd be good. Be excited to see that. But we're all agreed with Dallas Fuel at number 8. Okay. Okay, moving on. That's a tier break. So that tier is Houston, Florida, Toronto, London, Dallas. Moving on to number 9. We got Boston, New York, Paris, Vancouver, Washington. Who do we have at number 9? And this is the time, by the way. This is the time for a quick intermission. There was a tweet this morning from the number 1 Overwatch reporter now because, The bench is gone apparently. He's like giving up on the scene. Whatever.
What? Ballsack Esports?
Yeah, that's true. He's top three. Yiska tweeted out some rumors that
the rumor mill.
The rumor mills. It's a good time for redemption. The Titans and the Justice are doing well in scrims at the moment. Moreover, Vancouver has a rather easy strength of schedule. August 14th is arriving for the Vancouver
Vancouver
Titans.
have Toronto, Paris, New York, Washington, Houston.
Oh, that's a nice schedule.
So now comes the question. Vancouver Titans, they're yet to win a match this season. But are we willing to perhaps, get in a bit early on the Vancouver Titans stocks before they rally? And you can't buy them on that website that Avast is going. Do we want to get in early here on the Vancouver Titans hype and maybe place them a little bit higher based on rumor mill, based on predictions and low strength
I'm happy
schedule?
to put. Well, like, do we want to start at 9 or do we want to start with those teams?
Hey, man, that'd be spicy.
What is the? I need reasoning.
Clicks.
What's the reasoning if we're gonna put them even close to the 9th or 10th spot? What is it? What's any reasoning at all other than Scrimbucks? I need to hear it. Because I'm gonna tell you straight up.
Apparently.
I'm gonna tell you straight up. Scrimbucks are once again. It is fool's gold. It is the whispers of Satan touching our ears. I can't believe we haven't learned our lesson to this point. Stop it. Stop it. Stop believing in Scrimbucks.
I'm just saying, I could see it. Okay.
Yeah, well, tell us why. Why can you see it? That's what Avast is asking.
Actually, I feel like I'm just going to say I can see it, and then I'll just like talk about like hero combinations for different players. I don't fucking know that. So okay, this is actually a great point we've reached. So none of you have any faith in Vancouver Titans whatsoever, based on like this kind of rumors.
Well,
So
no,
we're just like hands up, last place.
Into this cold hard facts, then no.
Not last place. Okay, if we want to start from the bottom, I'm happy to chuck NYXL there. Fucking throw them in.
Put New York at the bottom. Yeah.
I think
absolutely
just
fair.
Them down there. I've had enough of them.
I actually, because the thing is, I think there's a legitimate argument made that Paris will be better than New York because of the upcoming meta.
I agree.
So yeah,
I think Boston at 9. Boston,
yeah, I think Boston's my 9 as well.
Yeah, I'll give Boston 9. Yeah.
I don't want to put Justice there, but like I want to put maybe the tiniest crumb of copium them on that. No, on the. Yeah, Vancouver at 10.
You wouldn't know.
Vancouver at 10.
I can't do it. It's gotta be Justice. It's gotta be Justice. It's gotta be Justice. It's gotta go Justice.
Justice have let people down time and time again.
Did go to the wire.
Fucking Scott's hairline to recede at least 2 fucking inches, bro.
But they went to map 5.
know.
They went to map 5. These two teams went to map 5 in July 9th.
Yeah,
before the
week 10.
Madness.
Yeah, week 10. They did. But different meta. And still, the Justice still won. They still won. So, like, and overall, like, when you look at it, like, it should. Now, don't get me wrong. Could I see a universe where Titans suddenly are, like, not in the bottom 3 teams? I could see it. There's simply no logical conclusion to be drawn from that. It's just pure hopium. It's pure hopium, hoping that they improve, right? Like, which is possible, but, like, I just can't justify that.
But we are about this time in history where Decay is now on the bench permanently. So...
Well, how do we know that?
How do we know that? History has taught us a lot.
I mean, it kind of makes sense, right? You'd probably have
maybe
Assassin
it repeats
Genji
itself.
No,
Look,
Jack,
I want to give a little bit of salt to the fucking me. Yeah, maybe I'm actually off the goop, like mad grade A crack. But like maybe the Titans beat Justice out here. Just look, I want to give a little bit of hope to the fucking Scrimbucks. I'm not gonna lie to you.
No, we're at the point. We're not at the point of permabench Decay. We're at the last straw of Decay where they do well in scrims. Decay's like, hey, maybe it's finally gonna work, and then they're gonna lose a really easy match, and then Decay gets permabench. We're not there yet, but I think Justice, they should be better. I don't think you can justifiably put them any lower than 10 because, as I said, maybe Vancouver, but like that's just going off of Scrimbucks. Like Paris, I think could be good in this meta, or at least better in this meta. Like it's not Tracer, which seemed to be one of their big pain
What
points.
is Washington? Hang on a sec. What is Washington's fucking schedule?
That's a good question, actually.
Washington Justice schedule is San Francisco
Shock, Paris, Fuel. Oh no, sorry. Shock, Paris, Mayhem, Vancouver, London. Ooh.
And Houston.
And Houston, sorry. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
So you got Vancouver, Florida,
you got
London.
Vancouver.
You could go. You could. Hey, fuck. You could go 4-2, 5-1.
Yeah.
You actually could go crazy.
It's a toss-up. I could see arguments for Titans here, but like I just can't, in good faith, put Titans 10 right now. I just can't do it.
Okay. Well, are we doing Paris Eternal a little dirty here by putting Vancouver Titans at 11?
I think Paris should be 11 as well. I think we are like at that point, because if we came into this, if Yiska never made that tweet, we wouldn't even be having this discussion, right? Like we are 100% being influenced by this tweet.
No. We should be having a discussion still, because I'm going to tell you why. It's because Khan can't frag anymore.
Yeah, but Khan hasn't been fragging anyway. Like, I think we're finally giving the opportunity to Dove and Wub.
But the thing is, but also on top of that, like the biggest criticism about Khan, in my eyes, I don't know if everyone else agrees with this, but I've said this. He is mechanical. He's like Majed, mechanical genius, not actual genius in any way close to the best. So like, and now you're putting him on a role that's in. Also, by the way, Brigida is one of the biggest pain points for this upcoming thing. Like you get isolated and targeted a lot because you're not very fast, and your positioning is really important. And it's probably going to be Khan playing that unless they put him on Lucio, which they probably won't.
I don't know what you guys think, but I think it's way more. I think it's likely that a lot of these teams put their flex supports on the Lucio, so they can just like.
No, I don't agree with that.
Why?
So?
Why would they do that? Lucio's so important.
Yeah, but you're saying that Brigitte is the more important hero of the two.
So your flex support would be on it.
No,
because they play.
Yeah, but it's a main support hero. And so I'm saying if the main supports have more experience playing Brig and they're the better Brig,
I see
but it's not really a main support. I think that
Lucio,
like,
okay, I'm sorry, Custa, but you just slide around on walls and boost in an area around you.
Yeah, that's what I thought, and then I got benched by a main tank. You know, Johnny, shit happens, right? Like it's. I think Lucio is surprisingly difficult, and as much as I agree that the Brig is the pain point, if you have a bad Lucio, it becomes very obvious from time to time. And you know that can be stated by the Gangnam Jin Violet experiment, right? Like it's not as easy as I think some people like to make it play out. And I think Brig is in this like middle ground of like, it is a main support hero, but a lot of flex supports have put a lot of time into that hero as well. So I would be surprised if we saw.
Yeah, I don't think the main support divide works like that anymore. Okay. Like, I think Custa's right.
Okay. That's interesting. Yeah. So yeah, the Krillin Brig, you know, or Vigilante for that matter.
But that's the thing. Like we've gone into a situation where like the flex supports, for me, for Eternal, one of the true points to where they could actually get wins was like Khan would randomly pop off. Like obviously he hadn't been doing it lately, but they kind of relied on that pretty heavily at times. And it's just gone. It's out the window. And now we put him in a position where his position matters. Even if he's Lucio, his positioning matters so much. Like you're telling me you're believing in the positioning power of Khan coming up?
They also have like kind of they have a really good schedule and then they have a really bad schedule at the same time. Like it's hella split. Honestly, it feels like a lot of teams right now, their schedules are so split down the middle. They have Washington, Vancouver, Reign, Glads, New York Excelsior, and I can't see the last one. Another one, can't see it. That is like super split. Atlanta Glads, they're gonna fucking lose. Washington, Vancouver, New York, like they could go even in this stage.
I feel like we've reached the end of this segment. I honestly think we're overthinking this a little bit much here. Maybe. Okay, the Vancouver Titans, they haven't shown us any promise, and we're only ranking New York Excelsior lower because that franchise just stinks right now. It's just a sack of shit. And Vancouver Titans will put them above them because of that. Paris Eternal at number 11, Washington at 10, Boston at 9. I don't see any reason why we should change any of this. I think this is the rankings that we should finalize right here and now.
Sure.
Are we done with that?
I mean, I'm not totally in agreement, but I still think time should go above Eternal, but sure enough, fair. Like,
all right. Yeah. I mean, Paris Eternal, they at least beat New York Excelsior one more time. So, sorry, Kurt, could you bring that up one more time and I'll read it out for the audio listeners as well? So, we have Los Angeles Gladiators at number 1, tier break. San Francisco Shock, Atlanta Reign as our 2 and 3. Tier break, Houston Outlaws, Florida Mayhem, Toronto Defiant, London Spitfire at 7, Dallas Fuel at 8. Tier break, Boston Uprising at 9, Washington Justice, Paris Eternal, Vancouver Titans, and New York Excelsior as our last 13 spot. And now we got to do the APAC rankings. Holy shit, I forgot we got to do the APAC rankings. All right.
Speedrun!
Yeah, let's
Less
speedrun
teams,
this
though.
shit.
Less
All
teams.
right, less teams.
So.
But we'll get through this. All right. Also a very interesting region, of course, because it's all over the place. Seoul dropped out early from the midseason madness. How much do we want to weigh that? Versus some of these teams, picking up some new additions, like the Guangzhou Charge, for example. So this is all over the place.
Question mark Valiant.
Yeah, question mark Valiant. Yeah, we don't know where they're from. Who knows? Maybe Tay can answer that for us. So let's just start at the top for this one. Number one, Seoul disappointed massively in the midseason madness. Obviously, they lost to Atlanta Reign in a very close series.
Spark.
And Spark. Who do we have as our number one team in APAC going into the Summer Showdown?
I still want to put Seoul, even though they disappointed me.
You know what?
I think people are reacting.
Agree.
I think people are overreacting to this loss. Like, I think, yeah, they played nowhere near as good as we've seen them play. Yes, it was disappointing, but especially in a Junkerqueen team-based meta, like, who are you going to put above them? Like, maybe Hangzhou Spark has turned a new leaf and they are the best team, but I don't think I've seen enough of it to justify it, because literally their entire strategy in the midseason madness was let Shy fuck. That's like, you can't tell me that they had a good, well thought out strategy. Yes, the individual players were all playing well as well, like other players on the team, but it was really just individual brilliance.
They were just nanoing him every single time they had.
And he was just killing
that
everyone.
Was how they were winning. Yeah,
I have complete faith in their roster, though. I will say, going into this meta, like I genuinely think that their roster is good for this meta. So Bernard can play the Junkerqueen, Alpha Yi can play the Genji. You have Shy playing either Ashe or Sojourn. And I think Super Rich Irony is one of the most slept on backlines in the entire league. And I think they'll adapt well to this.
I think they have a very, I'd agree 100%. I actually think Dynasty Dragons Spark or even Spark over Dragons, maybe.
I would never, I will not put,
but
I don't
it's
think
still
Spark,
Dragons. They're still too good for the video game.
Spark, though, I think they might fall out of the top 3. I'm willing to put
fall out of the top 3.
No,
wait, you're not the absolute good.
Okay.
I don't you dare say that.
Who the fuck are you going to put in the top 3 instead of Spark?
Fusion.
No, get Shanghai out of that.
Yeah, Shanghai don't deserve to be there. Why is Shanghai there?
Well, here's the reason I'm gonna put on Spark here. I think Spark, without the Shy and Alpha E pop-offs, are not a top 3 team in APAC. You know?
Okay.
How are they gonna have those pop-offs in this upcoming meta consistently?
That's like saying Shanghai Dragons wouldn't have won 2021 without Lip and Flutter, but they had both of those players, right? Like,
it's not the same though, because it's also dependent on the meta, right? If we had a meta where if the meta was both those players could not play DPS anymore, that would severely change their performance. Wouldn't you think?
Okay. So no. I'll play with your argument. Sure. You go ahead with that. Let's bring up the power rankings again. So let me ask this then: do you have more faith in Bernard being able to play the Junkerqueen, or like Fate and Void for Shanghai Dragons? Do you think Belosaria, the Wrecking Ball God, is going to adapt to Junkerqueen? Do you think Fury will
I have a shit ton of faith in Fate to play a Junkerqueen. Yeah, I think so.
Whoa, I don't agree with that at all.
I don't think so. Yeah.
I don't think Fate's ever been able to play that. Have you seen him aim on Wrecking Ball? You think he's going to be able to hit anything with that shotgun? Like,
you don't need to aim. It's a fucking shotgun.
I like Bernard. Put Hangzhou Spark at second.
I do like. I will say I like Bernard and I like the Sparks backline. I feel like their DPS are going to be hamstrung a bit comparatively.
I agree, but I don't think that's.
You say that, it's still incredibly important to get a first pick on a Sojourn with a right click. Yeah, it's definitely harder to charge up the Sojourn because the Junkerqueen hitbox is very slender and like, yeah, I guess you've got a Brig shield to build charge off of, but still getting that initial pick is so fucking strong in this meta. I still have a lot of faith in Shy actually doing that.
You know what?
Actually,
You've convinced me.
Good.
Sure.
Now I will convince you of the second point. All right. Let's dethrone the Seoul Dynasty. All right. Get him off number 1. I don't care. Shut up. Okay. No, we're not going to see a lot of Tracers in the league anymore. So okay. Well, guess what? Profit's been carrying on Tracers so far this season. Now it's going to be put on the Genji.
Now we get to play Genji.
Yeah, or Echo.
And Fitz gets to play Ashe.
And is on the team.
That's good.
It's great.
Okay, so now you're making the other argument that like apparently damage players matter now.
No, but the point being, but that's not. But also, Smurf's been great. Smurf's been incredible.
One of the greatest things of all time.
Smurf's been so good.
I have much more faith in Bernard being able to hold that to the Junkerqueen.
No, he's had one.
I heard enough. Shut up his mic. Shut up his mic. Shut up his mic. Cut him off.
Feet off.
Cut him off.
No,
I've heard enough from him.
Not happening. Not happening.
So you
now, don't
think
get me wrong. Bernard's been great, but like you cannot tell me that
You cannot
Bernard is
compete with
suddenly
Smurf,
like
no
competing
fucking
with Smurf in terms of that status. You can't. You just can't tell me that.
Okay, this here. I put clip this, or whatever. At the end of this stage, Hangzhou Spark is going to be better than Seoul Dynasty. All right, there it is.
Sure, do it. Okay, well, how about so let's say if we're setting top 2. I'm
Philly
willing
3.
to put Fusion in 3. Yeah,
I think Philly 3. I think Shanghai goes
We'll
down. Shanghai has been severely lacking in teamwork ever since they've had the Fate Void situation. I think they look way better when they have Fate in. And like as I said, I think Fate is like an incredible tank, and he is one of the best. But he is not a mechanically especially aim orientated tank player very good. Like that's not what he is. His strengths are. He is a coordination. I think Junkerqueen, just like Doomfist, the shotgun is going to matter for a primary source of your damage. And I think that they're going to have to play with Void instead of Fate, and that will hurt them.
I think they'll play Fate still.
Plus, Izayaki Brig is like talking about aggressive Zenyatas that are very like aim orientated and like to play aggressive. Like Izayaki Brig is something that I'm interested to see.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I'm fine with it. I'm fine with it overall. I'm fine with the list as it stands.
That looks pretty decent. I would still personally put Dragons over Fusion, but yeah, whatever.
And then I think I'd remove all the tier breaks too. Is that maybe put one? I'd maybe put one below Hunters.
Yeah, I'd put one below Hunters.
Yeah.
Okay, but yeah, we still have to talk about these teams. I do think it's a pretty good list. I do think Chengdu Hunters, they could be reasonably good in this meta. Of course, they have Gaga and Dicey. I think Gaga might pick up the Junkerqueen for this team. Jinmu can play the Genji for this team. He's already had success on the Genji so far this season. Leave, he can sit back, play the Sojourn, play the Ashe, etc.
Yeah,
and then Nisha, we don't, we don't need to say more about him, and Monk as well. I think Chengdu Hunters, they could surprise us this meta. And the Guangzhou Charge as well, like picking up a couple of new additions for this team. They have two-way contracts with Jimmy, Aprita, and Xerneas. Is that how you say this name? Yeah. So
Xerneas, yeah, another Pokemon name for
Krong. I can see Krong being good at Junkerqueen.
Okay, let me sell you on why we should keep Charge above the Valiant. Is anyone upset about that?
No, because I think Charge will be pretty good with these new additions.
I remember when I first started talking about it, and I put Valiant below Charge. Everyone got really upset. But Charge have a bunch of new additions. I think they are good players. Yes, they didn't perform that well in contenders, and they had 3 of their players. I think it were like 2 or 3 of their players who are now promoted to the team. But they have better support staff around them, and they have players who have experience playing this meta, which I think is invaluable in this situation. These players have been practicing it and playing it for a longer time, and I think that'll help. And it's not going to make them way better than all the other teams, just better than the Valiant.
Yeah. I mean, also Valiant, I think their coordination wouldn't necessarily be like their strongest suit, and we're heading into a heavy coordination meta. So
Yep, it's going to be interesting. I am looking forward to the Xerneas versus Chengdu Hunters rematch as well. Xerneas being Veltal, of course, back in the league now, so that's going to be very interesting to see that. Could I maybe propose the tier break removed from Chengdu and Guangzhou with these new additions for Charge? Is that too much?
Or to remove it completely, you mean?
Yeah, because I think that like the gap between Guangzhou and Chengdu is not... Like I could see Guangzhou punching upwards this stage. I think this will be an amazing stage for APAC. I think it's going to be so competitive. We have no idea who's going to be on top. I think there's going to be lots of upsets. That's kind of my read on the meta, but I might be wrong. Maybe it like figures itself out before the stage even begins, because APAC has a break, of course, this upcoming week. So maybe they'll figure out like the hierarchy, and like the best will separate itself from the worst, and there won't be many upsets. But I feel like it'll be a really competitive stage for APAC. Okay, yeah. We'll leave the tier break in. No one has anything to say about it. Great.
Yeah,
that's the power rankings for APAC. Number 1, Seoul Dynasty. Wrong. Hangzhou Spark at number 2. Philadelphia Fusion number 3. Shanghai Dragons number 4. Chengdu Hunters number 5. Tier break. Guangzhou Charge number 6, and LA Valiant, or question mark Valiant at number 7th as our last team there. Yeah, and there you go. That's our pre-summer showdown power ranking. So this is where I had one more question before we, stop talking about the strength of teams, stuff like that. LCQ, last chance here now. What teams will you give one more chance in the summer showdown before you completely give up on their season? Is there one team that you're I'm so sick of this team, I'm so tired of this team, I keep putting my faith into this team, they disappoint me? What is the one team that you're I'm willing to give you guys one more chance? One more chance in the summer showdown, and if you don't work it out, I'm fucking over it.
I'm gonna go with the Paris Eternal. I think I really am excited to see Wob and Dove and this roster and see how they're gonna perform. But I think if this team doesn't start showing up in the summer showdown or the rest of the season, I think it's time to start blowing up that roster and start looking forward into a different roster. Obviously keeping pieces and stuff like that, but this is obviously they went 8-8 last season, but this has been a really disappointing season for me thus far.
I will say the Toronto Defiant, not in terms of being mid-table. I still believe under the right circumstances, they could be fighting for the top 5, top 4 of America. And thus, I'm giving them one last chance to prove to me that they could fight for that. And if not, then they've been cursed to mediocrity. But I'm still believing.
Can I thought it was interesting that Joel said NYXL, by the way.
Dallas Fuel, I would say, for me, is more of a joke. Excelsior, I've already lost faith, and I no longer... No, it's not happening. I'm not letting it occupy my brain space. I think Dallas Fuel, because I've always been a Fuel fan at this point, and it's been a team that, I thought would do Fuel things, do pretty well. Their roster is fairly deep. There is a few holes here and there. I had a lot of faith in Gurio coming in, but if they don't do well, if they just get beaten down into a pulp, if they don't fucking make it, that'll be crazy. But they probably will, just going off the back of the skill of the players. But yeah, probably the Fuel. Yeah, I'll still be a fan, but I'll be a sad one. That's for sure.
Yeah. Let's do a quick therapy minute on the Dallas Fuel here. So, obviously they didn't perform well in the last stage. They got second place in Kickoff Clash, so we shouldn't be too down on ourselves. They still found success earlier on in this season here. But if they can't make it work this stage, is it like a situation where we're they're supposed to be an elite team and we're disappointed they're not reaching that? Or at that point, are we just well, they're mediocre in Overwatch 2, we're treating them as a mid-table team? We don't,
because we spoke about it earlier. We spoke about it earlier. I mean, it's the Dallas Fuel, we're giving a lot of stock to the Fuel just because of the name and the players that are on the team. But if you removed all the players' names in the team like that, I think a lot of us would vote. Well, actually, we fucking did, to be fair. I think it was the only one that said Dallas Fuel should probably be higher because I've still got Copium in the fucking tanks. Yeah. But if they don't end up getting what I thought at the beginning of the season would be obviously not knowing what Overwatch 2 meta and all this kind of shit would work out at. But I was saying 5th, 4th, and maybe pushing up there still because I had a lot of faith in the team. If they just continue to perform the way they're doing and maybe even slip down a rung or two, my hope would have dwindled, and I think the tanks will be empty.
I think for me, the big pain point for the Dallas Fuel is their DPS lineup. They have 4 good DPS players, but it's very hard to put together a cohesive DPS lineup. This is the thing that the Gladiators have done better than any other team, is their roster makes sense of when you would want to play certain players in certain situations. Doha and Sparkle have very similar hero pools except for the Sombra. Sparkle's Tracer is good, and it has proven me wrong, but it is still not going to compete in the top 3 in the league with your Kevsters and with your Proppers. Gurio has not been able. That was a big gamble picking up a relatively unknown rookie, and he has performed okay, but middling. Edison has still yet to live up to his contender's potential. So it just feels like you have 4 players who are all not giving the Dallas Fuel the championship caliber that they need. And that's my problem with Dallas, is it doesn't feel like that. With that, only under very unique circumstances are they ever going to hit that peak.
All right. There we go. I'm going to throw in one more APAC team, actually, before we leave this segment out. And that's the Chengdu Hunters. I really want this team to be good. Obviously, they have a reigning MVP and lead on that team. Jinmu can play the Genji now. And I want to believe that the Chengdu Hunters will be good. So I'm giving Chengdu one last chance before I'm you're reduced to 2020 mediocrity. When Lee was on that Chengdu team in 2020 and they were still garbage. So I'm giving them one more last chance based on their success last year. That hopefully they can turn up this stage and be a bit more comfortable. So there you have it. power rankings and discussing some of the strengths and weaknesses of teams. Now, let's jump into predictions for week 1. So there's no APAC this week, but we still have matches in the North American region. So we picked out 6 matches that we all predicted. There's no like gigabanger, but there are some interesting matches considering what we just talked about. So let's just jump into it. First match, Florida Mayhem against the London Spitfire. Who do we got? Okay, so we got 3 London and Custas with the Florida Mayhem. I might have actually wanted to change my...
Yeah, we just hyped up Florida in the power rankings. What happened?
I changed my mind a lot since yesterday.
I have a reason for mine as well. I agree with the ranking still. I just think Florida to me takes more time to get going than other teams.
True.
I think Florida needs to get they need some real life experience. You know, they need to go out there. They need to get knocked around a bit, feel like, oh shit, this isn't working type of thing. Because I think Gumba and Gravy and the coaching staff come up with some great ideas, and they have like very perfect, and they have like a very stylized vision of like what they want to achieve. But sometimes they kind of just need to like get the in-game, the in-server experience like in matches to be like, shit, this isn't gonna work. And I think it's happened to them a lot through most stages where they start out kind of slow and they get better as it goes on. So I think they're going to lose probably their first match in this meta and then get better from there.
I agree with Avast, but came to a completely different conclusion of like, here's the thing. I actually agree that they, as coaches, they do a lot of analyzing, but I think they come fast out of the gate and then they teeter off as teams start to work out when they lose the advantage of understanding the initial way to play the game. And I think London, it's not the fact that I think they're poorly coached. I just think the meta doesn't suit them at all. And I think it suits Florida way better.
All right. Yeah. I think actually I would have changed my prediction to the Florida Mayhem, but here we are. Our Lone Spitfire. Who cares? It's going to be great. Maybe it's 50-50 almost. There you go. Next match. Toronto Defiant against the Vancouver Titans. Yeah. We all got Toronto Defiant over the Vancouver Titans. No one's buying into the rumor mill.
Let's guarantee it though. We should guarantee it. Do we have the guarantee set up on this?
No, that's no guarantee.
Perfect.
Oh god,
that's good. That's good.
This is an awful guarantee.
That's a great guarantee. As I said, I think we are buying into the Scrimbucks exchange too much. The Yiska's word on Twitter. So you're telling me that you would have believed in the Vancouver Titans. So the removal of Shockwave and the addition of King would have given you this much confidence. Without the Scrimbucks and the Yiska tweet.
Hey now, I mean, Vancouver, it's not like they've just looked like the Shanghai Dragons in 2018. It's not like they've been like a punching bag for the rest of the team.
Did you watch the last game that they played where they had Mirror on DPS? We watched the same game, right?
Yeah, but they had a tough strength of schedule. They're finally playing some easier teams, maybe, Toronto, look, okay, first of all, Toronto Defiant, it's not like they've had a fucking pristine season either and just been like clockwork, all right?
Yeah, but they got wins.
Sure. Wins are helpful, Joss. I'll give you that. I'm just saying, like, I wouldn't be surprised if this was an upset right here. Because it's a new meta. We don't know anything that's going into it. We don't fucking know. We have no fucking idea. So, I don't know.
I don't know. As I said, Vancouver's been improving. They've been doing better. I think DP's been doing good things. They're going in the right direction, but they are still a winless team, and there's nothing that should have changed our minds between here and now. There and now.
All right. Well, there we go. No one believed in the Vancouver upset against the Toronto Defiant. Moving on to the next match is San Francisco Shock versus the Washington Justice. I don't even know why the hell I even featured.
Guarantee easy.
All right. Well, yeah. There you go. Guaranteed. San Francisco Shock.
Why do you look like why does Connor, every time you do that smile and the thumbs up, it's like you're just like on a pamphlet for a medical drug or something. It helped my ED.
I'm ready to. If medical companies want to print me out, I'll do it.
The pamphlet, it's good. I like it. No,
it's all
good.
Good.
Smile.
All good, man. San Francisco Shock. Yeah, I think I think Shock will be an interesting team because obviously they already have Violet playing like the Brig and stuff. So I guess maybe Finn, Lucio, or if your theory is true, maybe they'll put Violet on the Lucio and Finn on the Brig. That'll be interesting to see. how the San Francisco Shock does. Don't really think we need to talk about the Washington Justice. Honestly, I don't really feel like. London Spitfire against the Boston Uprising. This one will be pretty exciting. Who do we got? So Custa goes with Boston over the London Spitfire.
Yeah, it just felt... It just feels like it's in the air, and I don't know. I'm actually pretty excited. I feel like
professional analyst. It's in the air.
It's out here somewhere. I think Seeker's a good addition. I think Punk is going to be a good Junkerqueen. He's been able to excel on all the heroes that he's picked up. I think this team is on the upswing, and it goes back into what I was saying earlier. Of like, I'm just not sold that I think London is going to be comfortable in this meta. So maybe in the air.
Yeah. All right. It's in the air. Boston win is in the air. Jaws have asked any additional comments here? We're keeping strong with London.
Yeah, I mean, London, I think with Christopher at their backs, I just don't think this team is going to really suffer as much as maybe Scott thinks in this meta. I don't think they're going to be the fucking best Junkerqueen team, but I still think they got some big brains on the squad. I think Hattie's going to be a pretty decent Junkerqueen overall.
Yeah, we pretty much been through all the teams already, discussing their strengths and weaknesses. So don't need to spend an entire segment dragging it out either. Our fifth match is going to be the Paris Eternal against the Vancouver Titans. Now this one, I got the Vancouver Titans against the Paris Eternal. I'm buying into the rumors. I really am. I don't have any faith whatsoever in the Paris Eternal. I know they beat New York Excelsior in a map 5. They have one more win than the Vancouver Titans. But frankly, I don't give a fuck. All right? It's way more fun to root for the Vancouver Titans than it is to root for the Paris Eternal.
I also messed up my own pred here a little bit because I realized as I made my arguments against the Paris Eternal in the episode, I'm like, wait a minute, I voted for the Paris Eternal to beat this match. So I contradicted my own arguments here. So honestly, I probably should have been Vancouver Titans if I had done like more of my thought process before. But you know what? I'm already locked in. So such is life.
Yeah, I mean, we had this long conversation about power rankings. Obviously, we made the predictions yesterday, or maybe a day before, going into this episode. But then we had a very productive, stoic like conversation about the power rankings and strength and weaknesses of each team, and we've all become smarter since then. So some of these predictions might not reflect what we think right now, following that segment. So in the case of this one, maybe Avast wanted to switch to Vancouver, maybe I wanted to swap to Florida, but We made our choices and we gotta live with them, Avast. So I'm sorry, you're riding with Paris for this week.
I did a real life coin toss, and I'm not even joking. I literally flipped the coin, and it came up Paris Eternal.
That's perfect.
I respect it.
I mean, it is going to a game 5, and it's going to be a coin flip. Who C9's first?
That's how much confidence we have in these teams.
Yeah.
Who C9's first?
This could be the first matchup this week. The first like Jotes matchup where it goes to like map 5 and you're just sitting there like, wow, we're going Paris Eternal, Vancouver Titans map 5 in Jotes. This is
lit.
This is lit. This is a ride. That could be the backbreaker. Final matchup, bit of a banger, kind of exciting. It's the Houston Outlaws against the LA Gladiators. I mean, and we've all got the Gladiators. Yeah. I know we all got the Gladiators, but still, Houston Outlaws, they
could
maybe
be good.
Could be a good match.
It could be good.
But
historically, these two teams have had great matches.
Sure. I still think I stand by what I said earlier, and the diff in the teams is going to be accentuated in this meta. Not that I think there's like a ginormous like chasm gap, like Grand Canyon level, but I still think a team as good as the Glads with the roster they do have will probably just run over teams. They may even go fucking win lossless or win the whole thing. What am I fucking saying? 0 losses this stage is what I'm trying to say leading up. I still believe that there's potential for that. I don't think the gap's humongous, but
yeah,
they're probably just going to roll over them.
I do hope. I think I read somewhere that San Francisco Shock, with their current like match streak, regular season record or whatever, the match they're scheduled for in their tiebreaker, or the like match that gives them 1 up against the Vancouver Titans record in 2019, is actually against the LA Gladiators. So that would be a gigabanger if San Francisco Shock goes lossless going into the LA Gladiators matchup, and then they have to play Shock versus Gladiators to break like the league record.
When would that be? Do you know?
When would that be? If you give me just 1 second, I will tell you that the LA Gladiators will play the San Francisco Shock on the 20th of August. So maybe that isn't right. That's 3 more matches.
I was going to say that's quite close, but
yeah,
that'll still be a gigabanger of a game. Wow, whoever gets that GL. Yeah,
someone will figure that out. But regardless, it'll be Shock versus the Gladiators. So I don't care about your stupid win streak. It'll be a good match anyway. August 20th. Stay tuned. But there you have it. That's the predictions for week 1 of the Overwatch League. And I will just have one more segment remaining. We have Bren's Player of the Week. And I'll be completely honest. I have no idea who's Bren Player of the Week. I'm open to nominations.
It's probably something from Evo. Bren's been watching Evo lately.
Yeah.
No,
I
actually have an idea. Can we give it to Bren's fight stick, which he'll use for a week, and then put it in his cupboard like his keyboard?
Yeah, his fight stick that he bought, like reactively bought, and now he's going to become a fighting pro.
He was going to become the next Mozart if he just kept up the keyboard. That's all I'm saying. He was pretty good on that shit. And now it's in his cupboard for all eternity. Yeah. There it is. Bren's fight stick.
There it is.
There it is. There it is. That poor
Fair
thing.
enough. You know? What? So Bren's Player of the Week is his bad spending habits?
Yeah.
That's not a bad one. Not a terrible one.
Yeah.
Oh, there it is.
I will say,
$250 for a fight stick?
$250?
Oh, Jesus.
Holy shit. Maybe it should go to his fucking bank account. Maybe it should go to the banking institutions for actually like swindling Bren of their money. I don't know. His money. I don't know.
Wait, shouldn't it have a joystick on it? Do they?
That's like the whole gimmick of the hitbox is that it doesn't have a joystick. It's a completely different layout.
Use other buttons, right? There has to be that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the red buttons are movement, I believe.
Oh. All right, cool. $250.
Yeah, it just feels so to see like that arcade fighting game style. It feels so unintuitive to not see like the buttons plus the joystick.
Yeah,
it feels very unintuitive. But you know, fair enough.
Well,
there we go. Bren's Player of the Week is his terrible spending habits. That's what it sounds like.
Can't wait for someone to put that in the Excel sheet tracking all the Bren's Player of the Week. That's great. Love that. All right, shout out to Evo. Great stuff. Love to see it. Bren's spending habits. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that's probably the worst Bren's Player of the Week we've ever done on this podcast.
I mean, it's related to Bren at least.
Yeah, it's related to Bren. You got that going for you. Not some scientist. I mean, we never ended up giving one to like this new observatory or whatever that captures like all the cool pictures or whatever of space. I do feel like Bren at some point he would have given it to that like camera crew or whatever.
We talked about it on Plat Chat, didn't we?
No, we didn't. Did we?
I'm like 99% sure we talked about it on Plat Chat. Am I losing it? We might have been in a pre-show or something.
No, I feel like we would have zoomed in on like galaxies and stuff. I don't remember that. Maybe I wasn't there for that episode. Maybe. I mean, who knows? Maybe I was missing. But there you go. Plat Chat episode 138, previewing the Summer Showdown and talking through the Junkerqueen meta, strengths and weaknesses of all the teams, some predictions. That was a pretty good episode. Complete. I feel like that's the full package going into this next stage. I'm ready after this little break here. We'll see how the meta turns out, but I'm gonna stay optimistic in these 2 months leading up to the event.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Also, by the way, everyone, for your comment below, explain why Scott is wrong and why Arnold Schwarzenegger had to use mud to hide his thermals from the predator. And explain to Scott how insulation works. How insulation works.
That is not how it works, though. Like, you are still giving off residual heat. No amount of mud you put on yourself is going to make you fucking invisible.
It is.
No, that's not how it works.
Right, next Plat Chat episode, we're going to watch Predator the entire way through, and then we're going to be discussing the insulation properties of mud.
Very bad news. Predator is not scientifically factual. I don't want to break that fourth wall for you.
Cut his mic off in the episode. Cut his mic off in the episode.
Ridiculous.
I have full faith in the former government.